Today I've lined up the very best Canada vs. USA clips from our series recently, so sit back, relax, like the video, and enjoy.
In Plattsburgh, New York, just a 30-minute drive from the Canadian border.
Everything's already expensive, so we don't need it any more expensive.
Shoppers admit they're worried about a trade war, even with this delay.
What's this tell you? Huh? I'm for the Canada. U.S. is no good no more.
Others, though, remain confident in their president.
I think Mr. Trump's doing a great job. I think it's about time we get the level the playing field.
Economists say if tariffs come, prices will go up in the U.S. as in Canada, the impact immediate. Among the biggest changes, Americans can expect to pay more for cars, fuel like gas, lumber, which will see construction prices rise, and groceries.
Unfortunately.
The potential increases are concerning at this grocery store, but the manager says Donald Trump's unpredictability is just as frustrating.
We don't know what to tell our customers if they're like, can you guarantee that this will be here? I can't guarantee anything.
Hannah Stasko says she gets the sense some people don't realize just how intertwined the Canadian and U.S. markets are.
I'm a local produce supplier. We get a lot of stuff locally. Those local suppliers still need their equipment, they still need their supplies, they still need their partners in Canada that they've built relationships with.
We must sound the alarm.
For Michael Cashman, an elected official with the town of Plattsburgh, the uncertainty is stressful.
There will be a hardening on both sides, and how do we come to some type of solution for this? This could have a rippling effect that would rip the very fabric of our economies apart.
There's another worry here in Plattsburgh that this uncertainty could further strain relationships between Americans and their Canadian neighbors. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Plattsburgh, New York.
Insane. You know, again, it really truly does come down to the fact that U.S. tourism has absolutely plummeted. You know, I'm pretty sure last year, again, I've mentioned it on the channel many times now, I'm 13 billion, or 13 billion, and this year is going to be like 40 billion at this rate, especially with the war. It is horrible, man, and we're going to get more into it in this video. If you haven't already, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it.
Here's an idea. Don't come here then. We're not coming to the U.S. Actually, many Canadians aren't coming to the U.S. Tourism to the U.S. from Canada has reached COVID levels. This is a photo that someone took of Toronto Pearson Airport during March break this year. March break is like spring break in Ontario. This is the U.S. departure section, by the way. It's empty, completely empty. Normally during March break, this would be absolutely full. It would be packed because you'd have a ton of people going to Florida, Disney World, other warmer states as well. Yeah, nobody's going to the States. I mean, people are going to the States, but not as many as usual.
Way less. Like I was just saying, I mean, MAGA told Canada to stay home, and now our airports look like ghost towns. So, nice job.
You know, it's hysterical, the MAGA response to Canadians boycotting American products and canceling their trips to the United States. Well, we're not going to buy Canadian products. Honey, that's going to be hard because you can't even identify Canada on a map, let alone Canadian-made products, so good luck with that.
I mean, that's true. They're boycotting Canada, but half of them probably think it's next to Florida.
You're not mad about my hat. You're mad because you live in Canada and because you guys voted a bunch of socialist woke asshats into office and y'all have become a communist fucking country at this point and y'all are screwed and you rely heavily on us. Your GDP is less than 1/10 of ours and you basically have to do what the fuck we say. And we're not going along with your woke shit no more. I have friends that live in Canada, plenty. I've visited Canada, BC to be specific, plenty. I know that your healthcare system fucking sucks. It absolutely sucks. I know that the drug epidemic in BC alone is the worst, most zombified, drug-addicted, homeless area that I've seen in the entire fucking world. Like, it's awful. I know that you guys, the youth, can't afford a house, can't afford to buy a car, okay? I know that you guys can go to jail for literally posting things on social media and voicing your opinion if it's in opposition to the communists who are in power of your country. So I would just say it's not really the hat. If I were you, I'd be mad at myself for voting for socialist bullshit that always turns into communism because now you're at our fucking mercy. You better start kissing Trump's feet.
Calling Canada communists while they have affordable health care and we're rationing insulin is an interesting take, to say the least.
Boycotting American brands? These are the Canadian alternatives you need to know about. Instead of this, buy this. Instead of this, buy this. Instead of this, buy this. Instead of this, buy this.
Solid points.
Nobody was buying the cheaper California strawberries. They are rotting on the shelves, and the expensive Canadian strawberries are almost gone. Canadians are just actively avoiding even the American products that haven't been hit with tariffs, even the American products that are still on store shelves. They're just ignoring them. I can go to in fact, I just was this morning shopping at my local grocery where there's Ontario strawberries and there's California strawberries. California strawberries are now priced down to $3 for a carton. The Ontario strawberries are $6 for a carton. Nobody was buying the cheaper California strawberries. They're rotting on the shelves, and the expensive Canadian strawberries are almost gone. And that's just like, that's it. That's what's happened here. It's astounding to see.
I mean, they're letting their strawberries rot just to make a point, and honestly, I completely respect them for that.
So once again, the Republicans are triggered by President Obama. He could breathe and they'd be angry. And this time they're upset because he met with Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada. That's it. Carney said on social media, "Welcome back to Canada, President Obama. Thanks for joining us in Toronto for important conversations on how we build a better future." Normal stuff, right? But for MAGA, they think that something deeper is going on. For example, Laura Loomer said, "Why is Obama meeting with world leaders while Trump is in office? This is a coup." She thinks that Obama meeting with Carney is an attempt to overthrow the United States government. Another popular MAGA account on Twitter said, "He's a former president. This violates the Logan Act." No, it does not. Honestly, I don't know what the F he thinks he's doing. The balls the Democrats have, unbelievable. I actually responded to that tweet by saying, "This you," referencing her back in 2024, celebrating Donald Trump meeting with Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago. The MAGA Republicans hate Obama because he's better than Donald Trump in every single way, and people actually like him. He's one of the most popular politicians in America. Despite leaving the presidency years ago, people still love him.
Very much true. I mean, they're triggered because Obama treats allies like allies, how they're supposed to essentially be treated, right? You know, that's literally what presidents are supposed to do.
So Barack Obama's got the Republicans big mad. Yeah, they're calling him a traitor. Barack Obama's over in Canada right now, hanging out with Mark Carney and trying to help provide support for their new trade agreements. And they're saying that he's doing a coup and that he's violating the law and he's a traitor. But we all know that Trump was running around talking to world leaders before the election in 2024. He was hanging out with Netanyahu trying to derail VP Harris's campaign. But if Barack Obama, the greatest president of the United States ever, goes over to Canada, then he's a traitor and starting a coup. Oh, what are they going to? They're going to get the Canadians to take over America with Barack Obama. What will we ever do? Oh, this is terrible.
It's insane. I mean, he's helping Canada get better trade deals, and they call him a traitor. MAGA hates diplomacy, plain and simple.
So Obama visits Canada, and somehow the internet turns this into a coup conspiracy? Former President Barack Obama recently traveled to Canada, and parts of MAGA world completely lost it. Online influencers and conspiracy accounts started suggesting that the visit was tied to some kind of shadow political operation or coordinated efforts behind the scenes. Not diplomacy, not a public appearance, a coup conspiracy. And this is where politics in America is dangerous, because we've reached this point where even a former president traveling internationally can instantly become proof of a conspiracy, depending upon who's online first. No evidence needed, no facts confirmed, just outrage and algorithms. Now, to be clear, it's sad to even have to say this, but it's obvious Obama is not involved in some sort of coup attempt with Canada or a legal political operation of any kind. But the speed at which these narratives can spread says a shit ton about the state of the political discourse right now.
So true.
So yeah, Obama visited Canada, and somehow that was enough for part of the internet to convince themselves that democracy was ending.
I mean, online conspiracy accounts really think that every handshake is a coup, to some degree. You know, you see it all the time in this kind of regard when it comes to the political sphere. I mean, this is what happens when you get your news from Truth Social.
Well, MAGA is very upset this morning. It's all because Obama was in Toronto and he met with Mark Carney before a gala where he was a keynote speaker at. Check out those comments under that post, shall we? Oh, Obama committed a federal crime where he has no immunity about. Uh-oh. Oh, Uncle Jonah thinks it's a coup. Canada's becoming a national security threat. Okay. More. Oh, I can't wait for Trump to do this after his term's over. Now, I want to dig into this one a little bit. Because there are two world leaders Trump 100% did talk to and meet with in between his presidencies. No way. No way. No. Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago in 2024? There's Trump, there's Netanyahu, 2024, before Trump's presidency, before the election of 2024. Now, who is this guy? Who is that guy? That can't be Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff, that is in charge of the negotiations currently, as of now, with Iran, along with Trump's son-in-law? That can't be. Oh, and also Trump was talking to Putin. He still had communication lines open with Putin. During Biden's presidency, Trump met with Putin, who had the war going on with Ukraine, and Netanyahu, which was bombing Gaza. Interesting.
Rules for thee, but not for me, essentially, right? You know, meeting with a Canadian official is somehow a federal crime now. It's insane. You know, these people, they truly need to log off, educate themselves.
Mainers, I'm sorry to say that Canadians now consider us a bigger threat than Russia. Us Americans, not necessarily us as Mainers. A new Politico poll of 2,000 Canadian adults presents an absolutely savage view of America from our closest neighbor and longtime partner. 48% of Canadian adults say the US is the biggest threat to peace, compared to just 29% who say Russia is. Germany, France, and the UK, they're all tipped in the other direction. 69% of Canadian adults believe that President Trump is actively seeking conflict with other countries without provocation. And that includes 57% of Canadian conservatives. But this one's really rough. 57% of Canadian adults say they'd rather have a close relationship with China, compared to 23% who would pick America under President Trump. But the poll does show that 49% of Canadian adults believe that relations with the US will recover meaningfully after President Trump leaves office, and that's almost identical across party lines. 29% of Canadians say that they don't think our relationship will ever recover, that there's no going back.
Goodness, man. When your closest neighbor sees you as more dangerous than Russia, I mean, maybe it's time to look in the mirror. Maybe. If you haven't already, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it.
This message is for Americans. Are you okay? What do you get taught in school? Because this is the second comment that I've received from an American assuming Canadians live near the US border because we love America. This person also thinks that we call ourselves North American because we love America. There is a reason why the world thinks that Americans are stupid, okay? You're really living up to your stereotype.
And it's funny because MAGA ends up getting schooled by a Canadian. And, you know, honestly, she's not wrong, obviously, about how the world sees us right now. But, you know, no surprise. No surprise. You know, MAGA really thinks people are dumb. And it turns out they're just looking in the mirror.
And here's the thing, too, is Canadians don't like Americans. To say what you want. No, you guys don't. You guys don't like America, and you guys say shit about America, and then you claim, like I had somebody tell me, like, you guys don't even know history. Like, they don't teach Canadian history in America. And I'm thinking, why the fuck would they do that? But they're, like, getting on me about that. And they're like, you know, you guys in America are like this. And I'm thinking, we're not so different. Because they're like, you know, Trump's an asshole. I'm like, how do you guys feel about Trudeau? They're like, that's a fucking cuck. I'm like, hey, we're the same. Let me lay down a couple things for you guys. 95% of Canada's population is within 100 miles of the U.S. border. Because the rest of it's fucking Eskimo frozen tundra. Like, you can't live up there. Like, it's oil rigs and stuff. So if you just said, what are the values of Washington, the state of Washington? Go up, it's the same exact thing as BC. What are the values of South Dakota, North Dakota, Idaho, all those little plain states? Go up, Alberta, it's the same thing. So what I just tell you, BC's real blue, Alberta's real fucking red. And that's kind of how it goes. If you just go whatever state is next, that's how they view the same shit. It's the same thing. They're just missing the Bible Belt. That's all it is in Canada.
That's crazy. This guy thinks that Canadians live near the border because they love us. I mean, they live there because that's where the cities are. Genius.
Do you know that we are being boycotted by the entire world for tourism? We lost approximately $21 billion just in 2025 in tourism. Now I want you to multiply that by 4. Let me put some perspective on that. Our largest group of visitors are Canadians. They spend $20 billion every single year.
It's a lot.
And what that does for the U.S. economy is it creates about 150,000 jobs. 150,000 jobs. Let me give you some perspective. In 2025, Trump only created 550,000 jobs. You can see where that 150 would be very important, right? Well, in 2024, Biden created 2.1 million. So we need jobs in the U.S. that we're not going to have because of Canadians, other countries boycotting us, and Trump.
Great.
That 150,000 jobs, also, the rest of the economy was stimulated by hundreds of thousands of jobs more. Specifically, Las Vegas, their #1 industry is tourism. If you do not think that a tourism boycott is going to be catastrophic to the USA, you are not paying attention. Have you canceled your trip here? Many are saying the World Cup is going to be an absolute disaster.
Probably.
That would have brought us extra revenue, which would have attributed to extra jobs. We are desperate for job creation in this country, and it's not going to happen. Hi, my name's Christina. I have a master's degree in business. Drop a comment.
I mean, it's absolutely horrible. I mean, we're getting boycotted by our literal neighbors, and MAGA pretends everything's fine. I mean, this is the America First crowd's legacy.
What did he say? President Trump said the United States invented everything.
I can't. He's so egotistical. He's so unhinged.
Oh my God, my stomach hurts.
I mean, even Canadians can't believe the stuff he posts. I mean, that's how bad it has gotten. If you haven't already, please make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it.
What is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
So my ethnicity is native Russian. It's called Yakut. We live in the far east of Russia. And our physical traits, as you can see, are Asian. I study in the States and this guy asks me, oh, where are you from? And I say, I'm from Russia. And he's like, no, I mean like, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from Russia, motherfucker. And he's like, okay, then where are your parents from? And I say, imagine, they're from Russia too. And he's like, well, I thought that you were Asian. Fuck a motherfucker for your MAGA. I am Asian. I don't know how your brain works, but you think if I'm from Russia, I cannot be Asian when I'm clearly am Asian and vice versa? If you studied your geography a little bit, you will know that half of Russia, the biggest country in the world, it's really hard to miss it on the map, is in Asia. You really think that Habib Nurmagomedov's ethnicity is Russian? No, he's Dagestani, which is one of the 100 native Russian ethnicities. So yeah, I'm an Asian with Russian passport, bitch. And I got no ancestors immigrated. Don't mix your history with my history.
I mean, spit it. MAGA can't even handle the fact that Russia is bigger and more diverse than they possibly think. You know, not everything revolves around America, guys. Come on.
What's the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
I'm from Niagara Falls, and at least 5 times a night at my restaurant job, an American would ask me when we turn off Niagara Falls. When do we turn it off? I told them 10 p.m. every night.
This is what happens when you got public education for 50 years and act shocked that people think waterfalls somehow have an off switch. I mean, you just can't make this kind of stuff up, man. It's insane. Those aren't tourists. Those are voters. If you haven't already, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it.
How are Canadians fighting back against Trump tariffs? Come with me. You'll see no American alcohol on these shelves, and that's the way it's been here in Ottawa for over a year now.
We've had to, due to the tariffs, had to pull some American products off our shelves based on the directives of the Ontario government.
So like your Jack Daniels?
Yeah. Jack Daniels or any bourbons.
What was the customer's reaction? Like, how did people feel about that coming in, maybe not seeing their favorite spirit or whiskey anymore?
I mean, it wasn't shocking to anyone because it was such big news. You know, no one was surprised to not see that product on the shelf. You know, people form new habits and, you know, get new brands that they like and that they're, you know, comfortable with or used to, and then they, you know, start to ask for that by name.
So a lot more interest in Canadian beverages, a lot more interest in Irish whiskey too?
For sure.
I know this is an Irish pub though.
Exactly. So for us, you know, that's always something that's going to be a high seller, being in an Irish pub. But for sure, Canadian products is something that's on people's radar now, where it wouldn't have been in the past. I love to hear that myself because we should all be proud of where we're from, and we should, you know, it's hard being the neighbor of the, you know, biggest country in the world, where, you know, we're influenced by them in so many ways, in media, in food and beverage. So it's great for us to be able to look inward again and see what we have here, because we have a lot of good stuff here.
Politicians say the alcohol will not go back on the shelves until tariffs on the likes of steel and aluminium are dropped. Now, trade talks are currently underway.
Man, you know, this is the kind of thing that sticks around long after the tariffs get sorted out, even if they do get fixed. This will continue to be a thing for a while. You know, people remember how they felt, and they don't just simply flip back and just accept apologies.
The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperations, is over. It's my solemn promise that when President Trump threatens us again, we will fight back. We will fight back with everything we have to get the best deal for Canada. We will build an independent future for our country stronger than ever.
Dang, it's good. Stand up for yourself, right? When a foreign leader has to stand up and say the relationship is over, that tells you everything about how badly Trump has poisoned what used to be our closest alliance. If you haven't already, guys, leave a like on the video, hype it up, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it.
So let me tell you why Donald Trump's behavior towards Canada over the last 12 to 14 hours has been so erratic, and why it has nothing to do with the advert. Two massive things have happened. Canada has done two massive things in the last few days, which would infuriate Donald Trump. So Donald Trump wants people to bow to him, okay? Canada has not been doing that. A day or two ago, Mark Carney made a speech where he said, we're going to start doubling the amount of non-US exports. So we're going to find new trading partners. He said that we cannot rely on the United States anymore. That trading partnerships that we once had is gone. We're moving on. The bus is gone. We're on that bus. We're moving on. We are not going to be bowing to the United States anymore. We'll find our own path. That will infuriate Donald Trump because he wants to be bowed to. The other massive thing that Canada has done, and I'd love you to share this video, is that they have said, if Benjamin Netanyahu, I always struggle saying his name, the Israeli leader, steps on Canadian soil, he will be immediately arrested for war crimes. So that has happened in the last 5 days. And those two things would burn Donald Trump from the inside out. It has nothing to do with advert, even though those were Ronald Reagan's words. But I'm sure that's just the icing on the cake.
I mean, Trump just can't handle the fact that Canada won't just roll over for him. So now, of course, he's throwing a tantrum like he does with anyone who refuses to play along. So again, no surprise.
So Trump is now threatening our neighbors in Canada to delay the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge, a project that Canada financed after the U.S. refused to pay for it. He's demanding that the United States receive a 50% ownership stake before it opens, or he'll delay the opening of it, despite the fact that he refused to pay for it. We do not have a president. We have a mob boss. If you're tired of this bullshit definition of America first that has us at our allies' throats and kissing the ring of our enemies, give me a follow. You are not alone.
Insane. They financed the bridge themselves after Trump bailed, and now he wants to block it out of spite. My God, man, this is what governing by wounded ego looks like.
Before he got in office, all those criminals coming in here, he closed the border.
I love my country, and I hate what is happening to it.
He's a grifter, liar, manipulator. Seeing the treatment of American citizens is concerning.
He's the best one we've had since Ronald Reagan.
We came to North Carolina to visit some small and rural communities considered Trump country to get a better sense of how the president's supporters are feeling.
I think he's doing all right. I think he's doing a great job. I think he's listening to the people, and I think he does what the people say.
So how do Donald Trump supporters feel about his handling of controversial issues? Let's start with immigration.
I don't think anybody wishes that anyone would have been killed, but the reality is that there's that situation that is developing in Minneapolis where ICE is trying to conduct their lawful duties. They have to do that. It's not optional for them.
The protesters are just idiots. I hate people get killed, but if you act like a fool, you get treated like a fool.
Those people were in these groups that were taught to go out and harass the ICE people. I mean, they're helping their communities be safer by getting those people out.
Oh, he's doing a fine job. He had to come in and straighten out a lot of mess.
Is there anything that stands out to you that you like most about what he's doing?
I like the fact that he can't be controlled.
When it comes to Canada, voters here view Trump's threats as a joke, and some are even aware of the Alberta separation movement. What do you think about how Trump has talked about Canada?
I think it's funny. I think he's doing it to get a reaction out of people. If you live in Alberta, I support you.
Oh, Alberta separation.
A lot of us down here refer to them as Snow Texas. They share a lot of the common values that I would associate with American values. Whether they want to be an independent state or if they wanted to join the union, then I would be cool with that.
Voters here who support Democrats tell us with everything that's gone on so far this year, it's only hardened their opposition.
It's very depressing and concerning, especially with all the corruption and the disgusting people he's pardoned.
We love Canada. Yep.
That's all. Trump with the tariffs, you guys buy from somebody else, punish him for being an idiot. Thank you, Canada. We love you.
I never expected this, right? It's terrifying. You read about this stuff, you learn about it. It's part of history.
When does the time come that we rise up? We're looking at things that are happening in Minneapolis and Minnesota and around the country with ICE and the thuggishness and what I perceive to be nation fascism. Now, am I on the cusp of arming myself and rising up? No. But the fact that I asked the question is horrifying.
Even Americans can see this is embarrassing, but MAGA will keep cheering because they've confused cruelty with strength and can't tell the difference anymore.
President Trump has gone full circle and is once again floating the idea of annexing Canada and making it America's 51st state. So on Monday, Trump responded to reports that Canada had entered what some economists are describing as a technical recession by posting a simple message on social media that read, 51st state. Now, as you guys know, this is far from the first time Trump has suggested the idea. Since returning to office, he has repeatedly joked about or advocated for, depending on your interpretation, the possibility of Canada joining the U.S. The latest comment came just days after Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney publicly discussed strengthening economic ties and building a new partnership between the U.S. and Canada. What y'all might not know is that Canada's economy has faced challenges in recent months, with GDP declining for 2 consecutive quarters. However, officials at the Bank of Canada have cautioned against reading too much into a single economic indicator, noting that the country's overall economic picture is more complex. Trump's latest remark quickly reignited debate on both sides of the border. Supporters see it as a classic Trump trolling and political theater, and critics argue that the comments about annexing a sovereign ally even jokingly constrain diplomatic relationships between two countries that share one of the closest economic and security partnerships in the entire world. Now, for now, there's no indication that Canada has any interest in becoming the 51st state. In fact, they have multiple times said that they want nothing to do with that. But nearly a year and a half after the first raising the idea, Trump clearly hasn't let it go. So what do you guys think? Harmless joke, political trolling, or something more serious? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you guys think, and of course, follow for updates.
Insane. I mean, he's back to the annexation fantasy because he's genuinely just not able to process that another country might not want to be controlled by him. It's just pure narcissism.
But now his message for Canada is, the fact that they don't want us to take them over makes me want to invade. But Canada isn't threatening us. For God's sakes, their flag is a leaf. Even Joe Rogan, a Trump voter, said, "Why are we upset at Canada? This is stupid." Okay, MAGA people, that's called thinking for yourself. Presidents get 2 terms, not more, no matter how wonderful you think they are. It's written in black and white in the Constitution. Guys, you know this is wrong. You know in your heart this is the moment when Rome stops being a republic. So come on.
It's pretty crazy. MAGA just needs an enemy so badly they'll invent one, even when it makes them look ridiculous.
Canada's a very special place. Canada's absolutely one of the worst. Canada's been very bad to us. Canada's very tough. You know, we're not treated well by Canada. Canada's very, very tough. You know, we love Canada. We think of the beautiful song and the ice hockey games. Oh, Canada, isn't it beautiful? But in the meantime, they knock the hell out of us. Canada's been tough on the military. Canada, very, very tough. Very, very tough. And they're very tough. And they're not at all nice. But we've made them nice. We've made them nice.
Canada's been very abusive of the United States for many years.
People don't realize Canada is one of the toughest negotiators. Canada, who is very tough to negotiate. You know, we think of, oh, Canada. Oh, Canada's tough. They're tough. Canada has been very tough to deal with. Canada was very tough. Canada has been very tough on this country. Oh, Canada. We love to hear the song, right? But let me tell you, they are very tough, and they've taken advantage of our country for many, many years. Canada has treated us very, very unfairly. Canada was very tough to deal with, you know? Canada was tougher to deal with than China. Canada was very tough. Canada, they're very tough. I have a great relationship with Canada. They're very tough. With Canada, it's very tough. Canada was very tough on us. Canada is very tough. They're very, very tough. Canada's
I think we get the point. He contradicts himself in the same breath because he doesn't actually have a strategy. It's just whatever he feels like he's saying in the moment. No consistency required at all.
Are Canadians still upset about Trump saying that Canada will be the 51st state? I wrote an article about this on my Substack. The link is in my bio. When we heard that rhetoric, we stopped traveling to the United States. We stopped buying American products. We took American liquor off the shelves. Millions of Canadians from both sides of the political spectrum came together to send a clear message and push back on Trumpism. We said nobody else gets to decide what happens in our country. If we can come together and fight against a threat from the outside, I think we should also come together and fight with that same energy against threats from inside our borders. The Alberta separation movement wants to tear Canada apart, and there are serious questions about foreign money and influence. One of their leaders, Jeffrey Rath, said he met with Trump administration about separation and talked about a $500 billion line of credit. David Parker has said they have the backing of the U.S. The Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, indicated that the U.S. is very interested in what's happening in Alberta. This should piss Canadians off. Canada as a 51st state has now turned into Alberta as the 51st state.
Crazy. Millions of people across the political spectrum united against Trump's bullying. And that's what happens when you underestimate a country that won't tolerate being disrespected. And I'm happy to see this.
My message to President Trump is this: Canada will never be the 51st state. And not only that, the free ride is over. The era of liberal tax increases and anti-development policies that have driven $500 billion of our money south of the border is over. I will be cutting taxes, removing red tape, and unleashing free enterprise to bring home hundreds of billions of dollars of production and paychecks to this country. We will be a fierce free enterprise economy that delivers powerful paychecks to our people, that will allow anyone from anywhere to achieve anything, that guarantees that hard work gets you a powerful paycheck that buys affordable food and homes in safe neighborhoods. That is how we bring it home for Canada. That is how we put Canada first. Canada first, Canada last, Canada always. Let's bring it home.
Dang, I mean, they're just done subsidizing our military while we just casually threaten to absorb them as a state. And I really can't say I blame them for finally putting their own interests first. I can't at all. I genuinely I really can't.
Canada just gave Trump a big middle finger and said they are not backing down on their ad that goes and calls out his tariffs and uses Ronald Reagan's own words, his own quotes, edited together against Trump and his tariff policy. They have said they want every American to see this ad, and they are not going to pull it. They are going to air it during the World Series. They want everyone to see it. They're not backing down. And this is important because it's another country standing up to Trump. Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, has said that they are going to turn now and look for new trade partners. Since they cannot rely on the United States, they cannot control the United States trade policy and what Trump wants to do. They said he's got tariffs on every trading partner. They're going to look for new partners, and they specifically named giants in Asia. Well, we know who that is. And that's what they're going to look into doing now.
Of course.
Isolationism is what Trump is all about now, because that's what he's doing. With his actions, he took what could have been a good opportunity here and totally blew it. He
Ridiculous.
could have used the ad as leverage with a negotiation. And instead of that, he just cut off all trade talks and went on this true social tirade about it. That's the action of a man-child. Let me know what you guys think. If you agree, comment, like, share, spread the word, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you back here for the 411.
Insane. They went straight to the American people to explain what these tariffs actually cost. And of course, now Trump's furious because somebody called his bluff with facts. I mean, it's crazy. You know, Canada did something we should have done more of, right? You know, stopped explaining ourselves and started making sure everyday Americans really know exactly who's about to make their lives more expensive. And that's what they did. And they're not negotiating with Trump anymore. They're going around him.
So these people, the American, they are protesting against Barack Obama. He is in Toronto to speak. And the Trump supporters are here to protest against him.
Oh my God. Why? Absolutely insane. They're out here protesting Obama for visiting Canada in person. Massive Trump flags protesting while Trump's actively blowing up trade deals with Canada. I mean, like, tell me that makes sense. Like, what makes sense about that? That's ridiculous.
This is exactly what happens whenever nobody's held accountable. Fam, I'm getting tired of Barack Obama and his politics. This is probably like his 4th term, bro. Like, honestly, fam, he fucked up the country with his first 2 terms. Then Trump came in, then he came back to fuck up the country again. Like, fam, what are you talking about, bro? Like, this is highly illegal. Highly illegal. Because we have the president of the United States, which is handling some stuff one way, and then you have these chud-ass, goofy-ass Democrats coming in trying to do things their own way. Like, fam, this is not the democracy that you guys keep claiming that it is. Like, what are you doing, fam? Like, we have one person who's representing us, that is Donald Trump. That's really it. Donald J. Trump. And then you have these goofballs coming out here thinking they're above the law. No, bro, this is highly illegal. And honestly, now I see why they treat Canada the way they do, because Canada, where the fuck do you actually this is okay? Because no matter what the fuck is going on, fam, the only person y'all should be talking to is Donald J. Trump. I don't care what you guys got going on. Even if everything is going bad for y'all, Donald J. Trump is the only one you should be talking to.
Crazy. Obama's a private citizen now. He can visit Canada whenever he wants. The Logan Act obsession is just hilarious. Coming from people who cheered Trump's unauthorized calls with foreign leaders while he was actually in office, and also before he took office too. Crazy.
Well, MAGA is very upset this morning. It's all because Obama was in Toronto and he met with Mark Carney before a gala where he was a keynote speaker at. Check out those comments under that post, shall we? Oh, Obama committed a federal crime where he has no immunity about. Uh-oh. Oh, Uncle Jonah thinks it's a coup. Canada's becoming a national security threat. Okay, more. Oh, I can't wait for Trump to do this after his term's over. Now, I want to dig into this one a little bit. Because there are two world leaders Trump 100% did talk to and meet with in between his presidencies. No way. No way. No. Netanyahu and Mar-a-Lago in 2024? There's Trump, there's Netanyahu, 2024, before Trump's presidency, before the election of 2024. Now, who is this guy? Who is that guy? That can't be Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff that is in charge of the negotiations currently, as of now, with Iran, along with Trump's son-in-law? That can't be. Oh, and also Trump was talking to Putin. He still had communication lines open with Putin. During Biden's presidency, Trump met with Putin, who had the war going on with Ukraine, and Netanyahu, which was bombing Gaza. Interesting.
Insane. I mean, MAGA spent 4 years ignoring every actual violation, and now they want Obama arrested for shaking hands in Toronto. I mean, goodness, the hypocrisy just writes itself.
Former President Obama is in Canada, and the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, greeted him as if he was the incumbent. And I can't say I blame him when the incumbent president is constantly mocking and belittling our allies, treating them like adversaries or worse. The Prime Minister tweeted on X, "Thank you for joining us in Toronto for important conversations on how we can build a better and more just future." Honestly, it couldn't be more great, because it was such a jab at our president currently, where he'd rather take the call of a dictator than of a friend. Maybe former President Obama should start a tour where he goes and visits all of our allies and apologizes on behalf of half of the Americans that didn't vote for this, because we know that the current president would have a meltdown if he did this. But at this point, since the incumbent gives us headaches on a daily basis, let's give him one and start the Obama apology tour all across the world.
I mean, of course they treated him like a president because he friggin' acts like one, while the actual president is too busy picking fights and taking our alliances and hiking up our gas prices, bills, groceries, medical, the list goes on.
You know, the sight of this man just disgusts me. I mean, with all the presidents that retire, this one, Barack Obama, refuses to retire. It wouldn't surprise me if he had a camper outside the White House just so he can continue to crossplay as president. Now he's in Toronto, Canada, meeting with their politicians. Barack Obama, you're not the president anymore. We don't need you going around talking about any foreign policy in regards to the United States, because Trump is our president. I mean, can we get this man charged with for violating the Logan Act? He's clearly violating the Logan Act, clearly. But we all know Barack Obama is above criminality. I mean, here's one criminal that just skates through with all the shit that he's done. I mean, go somewhere and sit on a beach with your agonizing wife so that she can tell you how agonizing it is to be a former first lady and how oppressed she is and how angry she is of being so privileged. Go talk to her. But we're tired of seeing your face. You have done enough on the world stage.
And he says Obama should stay out of it while Trump's out here actively destroying the relationship entirely with Canada. Yeah, the comment section sees the irony. Absolutely ridiculous.
While Donald Trump seems to be doing everything he can to divide us from Canada, threatening them with tariffs, and even threatening their very existence, here you're going to watch Barack Obama meet with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney yesterday in order to discuss the future of Canadians and Americans alike. Do you miss this?
Crazy. I mean, one's burning bridges with our closest ally for no reason, and the other's trying to repair them, and somehow MAGA thinks the second guy's the problem.
The United States does much better. Hey, we don't need anything that Canada has. We don't need anything that Mexico has, but they need everything that we have. And they have to treat us better. You know, with Mexico and Canada, we have trade deficits. We should have surpluses with them. We don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We don't need anything that they have. So the primary thing that I got, it was a much better deal than NAFTA. Much, much better. It was sort of a good deal. But it was a great deal for one reason. It gave the right to terminate. Who would have thought that it comes due in my term? I mean, this was, thank you very much. So it was very important that we be able to do that. So we're talking to them. We'll see if we do something.
Let me tell you something, guys. When someone tells you they don't need you while actively trying to push you around, what they're really saying is they're terrified you might figure out you don't need them either. Interesting how that goes, right? Psychology. Love it. If you haven't already, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, notifications. Let's get into it. Fun as always.
Thank you, Mr. President. A representative of Canada, the finance minister, are in town and will meet members of your administration during the day. Any chances that you will ban on the tariffs on aluminum and the ones that are planned for April 2nd?
No.
You are not going to change your mind?
Look, we've been ripped off for years, and we're not going to be ripped off anymore. No, I'm not going to bend at all. Aluminum or steel or cars, we're not going to bend. We've been ripped off as a country for many, many years. We've been subjected to costs that we shouldn't be subjected to. In the case of Canada, we're spending $200 billion a year to subsidize Canada. I love Canada. I love the people of Canada. I have many friends in Canada. The great one, Wayne Gretzky, the great. Hey, how good is Wayne Gretzky? He's the great one. But we have, I know many people from Canada that are good friends of mine. But, you know, the United States can't subsidize a country for $200 billion a year. We don't need their cars. We don't need their energy. We don't need their lumber. We don't need anything that they give. We do it because we want to be helpful. But it comes a point when you just can't do that. You have to run your own country. And to be honest with you, Canada only works as a state. It doesn't. We don't need anything they have. As a state, it would be one of the great states anyway. This would be the most incredible country visually. If you look at a map, they drew an artificial line right through it between Canada and the U.S. Just a straight artificial line. Somebody did it a long time ago, many, many decades ago, and makes no sense. It's so perfect as a great and cherished state. Keeping "O Canada," the national anthem. I love it. I think it's great. Keep it. But it'll be for the state, one of our greatest states, maybe our greatest state. But why should we subsidize another country for $200 billion? It costs us $200 billion a year. And again, we don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We have more than they do. We don't need anything. We don't.
Ridiculous. I mean, the absolute arrogance. I mean, it's hard for even me to focus on this clip as you saw earlier. I was like dozing off on the side, looking at something else. I mean, the absolute arrogance of claiming you're just being nice while threatening tariffs and annexation, like Canada should just be grateful to be pushed around by their own trading partner. Give me a break.
Hopefully we can resolve some of the irritants and some of the other issues that are out there, and we can put together a great trade agreement. It would be good for the Canadian people, it would be good for the American people, and we can move forward, but we'll have to wait and see.
Hoekstra also stopped by News Talk 580 CFRA this morning and said there is still some work to do to get an agreement done, but trade negotiations between Canada and the U.S. are still far apart. The ambassador adds he's optimistic trade issues can be fixed as both countries have very strong economies and have lots of resources. Now, Hoekstra says the U.S. is trying to get a deal done on what he calls Trump time, which can happen really quickly, even though Parliament is now on a summer break.
Trump time. They take the trade deal, and now the ambassador's out here saying that he's optimistic about fixing it. Like that's literally like setting fire to your neighborhood's house and offering to help them rebuild. You caused the problem. Now you want to fix and try to be the solution to your own problem. It's crazy.
To be absolutely clear, Canada, like Mexico, Canada remains open to deeper integration, including options for Fortress North America in selected sectors. And to be clear, those offers are on the table.
But if that route is not ultimately possible, we will invest heavily in new markets and products. We'll reward those who build, buy, and produce in Canada, and we will build new partnerships abroad.
Yeah, the fact that Canada's still willing to work with us after everything Trump's pulled just says a lot more about their patience than it does about smart strategy at this point. Seriously.
Ford F-Series has been the single greatest selling truck in the United States of America for 45 years. It has a military-grade aluminum shell for a body, one of its great features. That's the good news. The bad news is you simply cannot make enough aluminum in the States for those trucks. You don't have the bauxite or the affordable electricity necessary to turn bauxite into alumina. We do. We have enormous surpluses of aluminum. But the current tariff drives up the cost for Ford to make those trucks, which makes it harder for them to produce trucks made by America, and ultimately drives up the cost of those trucks for electricians in Ohio, miners in Appalachia, and energy workers in Texas. Get rid of that tariff and you lower the cost of trucks for working class Americans, and you increase production of those vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, he's pushing for free trade while Trump's literally threatening annexation and slapping tariffs on everything. I mean, reading the room has never been his strong suit, clearly.
So Jim Beam, the liquor distiller, is shutting down operations in the United States for the whole year of 2026. And the reason why they're doing that is because their biggest export market is Canada, and Canada is refusing to buy American liquor in protest of the aggressive nature of the Trump administration. And it's had such a huge knock-on effect on Jim Beam sales that they are cancelling operations for the year of 2026. They will not be making any more liquor this year. Now, people are going to say, well, that's very sad, and, why are Canadians doing this? We're doing this because your president is a fascist pig, and he has to be stopped. And this is one way that we can do it to stop it.
Yeah, I mean, so Jim Beam pulls out of Canada because of the boycott, of course, and somehow that's supposed to prove Trump's strategy is working. I mean, yeah, for nobody involved in this mess, essentially, right?
What changed? Because you insisted no new wars.
First of all, I didn't guarantee no war. Who started no new wars. That's very good. No new wars. Instead, I brought our troops back home. No new wars. They said his personality will create wars. I said, no, my personality is going to keep us out of wars. Look at him. Listen to him. He's going to start a war. Listen to his rhetoric. They thought I was going to start a war. Let me tell you something. I'm going to stop World War III. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier.
Ridiculous. We all watched him promise no new wars over and over and over again, and now he's just flat out gaslighting us like the footage just doesn't exist. I mean, this is what they do when accountability shows up. Let's get into it, guys. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Heads up, I'm a little bit sick, so bear with me on the energy. Let's do it.
He's trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never ever happen. But we also must recognize the reality that our world has fundamentally changed. We are once again at one of those hinge moments of history. Our old relationship with the United States, a relationship based on steadily increasing integration, is over. The system of open global trade anchored by the United States, a system that Canada has relied on since the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped deliver prosperity for a country for decades, is over.
Such a shame. I mean, they're watching someone openly fantasize about dismantling their country, and MAGA still can't figure out why our allies, Canada specifically, are walking away from us. And it's more than just Canada, but Canada's the focus. It's a big one. It's a huge hit for us.
Dear citizens of Canada, most everybody in the United States is with you. If you don't want to buy our products, don't do it. Buy Canadian only. We'll be fine. Trust me, we'll be fine.
And
we don't agree with Supreme Leader Trump.
Canada's been doing great without American products.
So you boycott us, and I'm with you, okay? Most of us are with you. If, for whatever reason, the U.S. invaded Canada, which won't happen, but if it did, I would side with Canada. I would fight with Canada, okay? I canceled my trip in the United States this summer, my summer vacation to the Jersey Shore, because I live near the Jersey Shore. I canceled my Jersey Shore vacation because I'm taking a vacation to Canada this summer and spending my money in Canada as a U.S. citizen. So please welcome me and my family with open arms.
Respect.
We are with Canada. Okay, we are on your side. We will fight with you. And if you need to boycott the U.S. products, you do that. Do that. Show Trump he's wrong.
Respect. This is exactly what patriotism actually looks like. Standing up for your neighbors when bullies come knocking at their door, not wrapping yourself in a flag while cheering for conquest, annexation, God only knows what else.
This kind of threat that's coming at us, at first, I think people thought it was sort of funny or interesting, or he's just trying to get our backs up. But we're taking it real seriously right now. We see this as an existential threat, and let's be clear, it's not just a threat to our leadership, right? This is a threat to working people in our country who rely on trade, who rely on those relationships. And what I have to say to Donald Trump is, you're going to come after us, we're going to fight you like hell.
Respect that too. I mean, when foreign leaders have to promise essentially to find an American president to protect their own sovereignty, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Maybe the problem isn't them. It definitely isn't. Maybe it's us. It definitely is.
As an American, I'd like to address the 51st state discourse, which I find unsettling and frankly insulting. Canada is a strong, independent nation that's deep-rooted in decency. Really. And it's a place that values high ethics and respect, unlike the polarized, disrespectful, and often now hate-fueled climate that's in the U.S. And look, Canada values a lot of fairness and unity. It's a place that I've learned as the national team coach where people really believe that their differences make them stronger. And honestly, it's one of the things that I've enjoyed the most about our team is that they exemplify this as human beings and as a team. And look, they're almost all first and second generation Canadians coming from different heritage and cultures, but they uniquely are incredibly proud to be Canadian, to represent their country, to give everything to each other, and the love that they have for each other and playing for their country. And to me, this sounds very familiar to years past, right? So for me right now, I couldn't be prouder to be the Canadian national team coach, and I found a place where that embodies for me the ideals and morals of what not just football and a team is, but what life is. And that's integrity, respect, and the belief that good people can do great things together.
Wow, beautiful. I mean, it takes courage to stand up and say you're shamed when your country's leader is threatening allies in the very country that you're in right now, right? So that's the kind of patriotism MAGA pretends to care about, right there.
I know that many Canadians, too many of them, the United States does not feel very welcoming right now. I get that, given the reckless and disrespectful rhetoric coming from our president. Hear me on this. I respect Canadian sovereignty, period.
Shapiro's exactly right. I mean, you can't trash our closest ally, threaten their sovereignty, and then just simply act confused when they stop trusting us or wanting us around. There's no surprise to that.
As Canadians, we're not happy with what's going on with the thing with your leader. It has nothing to do with the American people. We do not hate the American people. I had a friend of mine on Facebook who had posted that she was worried about, how we're feeling, and she said, we had nothing to do with it. We're not upset with American people. I love Americans. I think they're fantastic.
Is it wrong for me to say I think it's very Canadian that you want to make sure that our feelings are okay?
Well, yeah, it's one guy doesn't make the whole, or one bad apple doesn't make the whole bunch useless. Or you don't throw the whole thing away.
That the fight is between politicians, not people.
Yeah, and the people are going to feel it. And our countries have worked so well together. Why stop now? And this is the best company I've ever worked for. I really like it here. I don't want to see this place closed. It's nice.
Freddie, you're nice.
Oh, thank you very much.
What a nice exchange. I mean, it is true. At least a super majority of Canadians and even other people outside in similar positions from our allies are angry at Trump, not at us. Some are angry at us, but understandably, the three-time MAGA voters that put us in this dang position. So totally okay with being mad at them. But honestly, you know, that is more grace than this administration has earned or deserves right now.
I just have to say, on behalf of millions of us sane Americans, we are so sorry to the whole world about what's going on, especially to Canada. I live in California, and there is a huge push to secede from the rest of the United States. From California is done.
That'd be crazy.
We would love to be part of Canada. We don't want Canada to be here. You don't want to be here, but we would love to be Canadian at this point. We're just so sorry. We don't know what's going on. Nobody's doing anything. Nobody is stopping him. The effing Supreme Court, they gave him immunity. Remember, everybody should be calling the Supreme Court justices and saying, how dare you? This is your fault. You gave him immunity. And I call my reps. Everybody's calling their reps. We have Indivisible. We're protesting, but the news isn't showing it. We're just sorry. Canada, you stay strong. We're sorry.
What do you say, right? I mean, the fact that Americans are apologizing to Canada and saying they'd rather join them says everything about how far we've fallen under this leadership. It's gross. It's disgusting.
When America has really bad wildfires like in California last year, what did Canada do? They sent their planes down with water to help us with the fires. But now Canada is having crazy bad wildfires. People are dying, homes are getting destroyed, and the smoke is so bad that it's coming into America. What is America's response under Republican leadership? To put tariffs on them, to sue them, to tell them it's all their fault and they should get it under control. Not to offer aid or to offer our planes full of water. So I would like to say to Canada, our closest ally, our neighbor to the north, I apologize for the Republican Party, for Donald Trump. We, the Democrats, are doing everything we can to get them out of power.
Truly.
And hopefully we will soon. And then we can just forget about all this and move on. If it was up to me, we would already have been sending you aid and whatever else you needed to get through this. Just know that almost none of us agree with anything he does or says.
Insanity. I mean, Canada sent us help without hesitation when we were burning. Many other times before too, and Trump responds by slapping tariffs on them during their worst crisis. I mean, that is definitely not leadership. That's cruelty. Again, guys, thank you very much for bearing with me. A little way less energy than usual because I'm a little bit sick. Thank you so much. If you enjoy, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, notifications on. Comment down below what you think about all this. You know, if you're Canadian, what's your thoughts? You know, have you been refusing buying American products? Totally understandable, by the way, but let me know.
Canada put a charge on some of our companies, and Canada's been a very difficult country to deal with over the years. You know, we hear Canada, we have a great relationship with the people of Canada, but it's been very difficult, and they put a charge, and they were a little bit early, we found out about it. So, and we have all the cards. We have every single one. We don't want to do anything bad, but they have, economically, we have such power over Canada. I'd rather not use it, but they did something with our tech companies today trying to copy Europe. You know, they copied Europe. It's not going to work out well for Europe either, and it's not going to work out well for Canada. They were foolish to do it, and so I said we're going to stop all negotiations with Canada right now until they straighten out their act. They put a tax on companies that were American companies that they shouldn't, a very severe tax, and yeah, I guess they could remove it. They will, but I don't really, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. We have all the cards.
Absolutely mental. He picks a fight with our closest ally, torches decades of cooperation, and somehow thinks threatening them will make them cave? That's not negotiating. That's just being a bully. A dickhead. I mean, with no plan at all, guys. Sorry, bear with me, I'm a little bit sick. If you haven't already, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get in this one.
And we could dismantle the U.S. if we wanted to, if we all work together. Start off with President Trump. You know, we always say we can't keep rolling over for President Trump. We can't back down. We need a full Team Canada approach. Everything is on the table, but Ontario can't do it alone. We need the support. We need a plan from the Prime Minister to come in, and if these talks fail in 29 days, we need to hit them back as hard as we can. I'm tired of the bully trying to take our lunch money all the time. We always seem to be on our back heels. We need to be on the offense, not constantly on the defense with President Trump. We need to stand up to the bully, and we need to hit him tariff to tariff, all the way across the board. And that's my message to the Prime Minister. We need a plan moving forward. We have to hit back. We have to, rather than be on our back heel, as I said, we have to go forward, take the offense. We are an energy powerhouse. And we could dismantle the U.S. if we wanted to, if we all work together. No matter if it's the electricity, and I'm not speaking for the other provinces, I'm going to be very clear. The potash, the oil, we're their #1 customer in the world. They need to feel the pain rather than us constantly feeling the pain. But thank you, everyone. We'll never stop fighting for Canada.
This is what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. Canada's not rolling over, and Trump's about to learn that allies remember how you treat them for a long time.
Well, we got to stick up for ourselves. And the Trump administration attacks us. We have to push back. The Trump tariffs come off, then, we can talk to Elon about rebates for his cars. We can talk to American distillers about carrying their products. But in the meantime, talk to your guy. Talk to your president.
Simple. They are literally saying we want to work together while preparing to fight back, and somehow Trump thinks escalation is the winning move here.
I share all of your concerns because real people, real Canadian workers are getting impacted by all of this. Tariffs is another word for tax. And not only are Canadians getting hit, but Americans are too. This is hurting everybody. It's a no-win situation. Trump is the only one who's hallucinating, believing that this is some kind of benefit to either one of our economies. Having said that, I will say that, the short-term worry I have is we are a much smaller economy than the States. I believe Trump because he's right when he says, well, they need us more than we need them. The math is mathing. 75% of our exports in Canada go to the United States of America. It is a massive share of our GDP. Guess how much of America's exports come to Canada? 17%. They don't need us the way we need them. Our economies have grown intertwined. So that's the worry I have.
But they do need us because we're obviously
where they do need us is in critical things like energy, like things like oil, like nitrogen, like potash. And guess what? This is where we do need to get on the same page. The premiers are meeting right now with our prime minister, but the two premiers who hold the keys to oil and potash have said we under no circumstances are going to use those against the United States in this tariff war. So now what?
Trump keeps forgetting that trade means both sides have leverage. Canada controls energy and resources we actually need, but sure, let's find out what happens when the power goes out over here in good old America. Not going to be good.
This isn't a switch that you flip and suddenly manufacturing is back in the United States of America.
It's also not a switch that you should wish to flip. In the United States, service sector wages are higher than manufacturing wages. We should not wish to move Americans from higher paying jobs into lower paying jobs.
Why aren't more conservatives saying what you just said, that the president is wrong?
The president's trade policy is going to do a lot of economic damage. It's going to reduce the income of households. It's going to reduce the purchasing power of wages. It's going to increase unemployment.
The administration says the opposite of everything you just said there.
They are.
The Commerce Secretary says jobs are going to explode.
Yeah, they're wrong. And they will be proven wrong if they stick with this policy.
Yep. Trump's burning trade deals like they're just simply disposable to him. And that's absolutely ridiculous. But the economic damage, it's not theoretical. It is going to hit American workers and families, people like you watching, people like the ones the ones next to you that live next to you. It's going to hit American workers and families while he pretends he's winning.
Almost 60,000 Canadians are trying to stop Donald Trump from being allowed into the country. Prime Minister Mark Carney is expected to welcome Trump along with other G7 members to the G7 summit in June in Kananaskis, but someone launched a petition trying to block Trump from being allowed into Canada. And the petition states that Donald Trump is a convicted felon who is threatening Canada's sovereignty. He has also stressed that border security along the Canadian border is a priority for him, and we agree. We can't allow convicted felons from other countries across our border. What are your thoughts on this?
Ironic, right? I mean, when your closest neighbor starts trying to ban you from entering their country, maybe it's time to admit your diplomacy strategy isn't working at all.
Y'all, let's catch up on today's current events. Canada said, America, fuck around and find out. Fuck you. We are not backing down. We're going to have to come to some type of agreement, or we just going to cut the power off to the people that's up there in the northern part of the country. And before we cut the power off, we're going to make sure that their bills are $100 more. Now, something got to happen, because guess what? This is going to fall on the American people, the same people that voted that man in there and who put these tariffs on the country. And this is what y'all got to deal with. Because guess what? Self-destruction starts from within and it comes from the bottom, and it looks like he's working his way to the top. That's what the fuck y'all get. The whole education system has been cut in half. I feel like that is a good thing because guess what? They only create workers anyway. They're not creating our children to do anything outside of being a worker. So guess what? They need to cut that shit out anyway. Like, it's nothing but a babysitter at this. And then the lady whose kids were unalive that we thought was from hypothermia, the medical examiner came back and said it was from carbon monoxide because the kids were sleeping in the car. Now they're trying to put an arrest warrant out for her for murder. I don't understand how that happened because she did not go out and say that she was going to just murder her kids. Guess what? She didn't have any options but to sleep in her car because when she reached out for help, nobody helped her. So if anybody, you need to be going to the city and the places and to those resources that did not get back in contact with her and charge them with that charge. Not the lady, but it's a double-edged sword. The same people that just gave her a house is the same people that's going to try to turn around and prosecute her. I swear to God, you cannot make this shit up in America, y'all. But if something else comes out, y'all know what I'm going to keep on reporting. Canada said, yeah, America, fuck you. Fuck around and find out. We do not care. We're going to uphold them same tariffs. Y'all know what to do. Get in the comments. Let's go. But yeah, y'all, this is what's happening in current events today. And it looks like it's just going to get crazier and crazier by the day and by the second.
Excuse me. I mean, they spent years telling us that we need to be tough negotiators. And the second someone else actually plays hardball back, the good old 3-time voters here, they just act shocked. Yeah, and it's funny because it turns out leverage works both ways, and Canada just reminded her and them and everyone else of that.
Our softwood is a national security risk to the United States, while Russian softwood is taking its place in the United States. I've heard about the proposed new tariffs from the United States. Obviously very disappointing, and it's going to have implications for Canadians, but I mean, mostly it's going to increase costs for Americans when they can least afford it. At this point, I just feel sorry for Americans. You know, if you're picking fights with Canadians, then you don't have a friend in the world. I've asked my staff to contact the ambassador to have our government statement in support of the historic friendship between Canada and the United States. It's on the 250th birthday website of the United States and other materials to be removed. You know, we're still friends with Americans, but right now it's just hard to feel anything but sorry for the United States and to hope that they turn a corner.
Will you put American booze back on the shelf?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
You know, I have to talk to forestry families that face a tariff of above 50% because our softwood is a national security risk to the United States, while Russian softwood is taking its place in the United States. I can't make sense of what the president is doing. Nobody can. If you're attacking Canadians, then really, I mean, ultimately, who is your friend in the world?
I mean, when you've managed to turn one of the most diplomatically patient countries on the planet into an adversary, maybe the problem isn't them. We already knew that, though.
That any of this came from Canada is absurd. Of course we have to take action to respond when you're being bullied, and I'm proud of the actions Premier Eby has taken. I'm proud of the actions Prime Minister Carney has taken in response to that. We got to continue to take such actions, but to suggest, people in the United States are suggesting that somehow Canada started this, you'd have to have been in some sort of blackout for the last 2 years to believe that.
They start a trade war, watch it backfire, then blame the country. I mean, that's getting punched. Classic bully logic, right? When the victim finally hits back.
Remember all the way back in March when Ontario responded to tariffs by removing U.S. alcohol? Remember that? BC also followed suit. Nova Scotia followed suit. Remember all that? Americans came out and was laughing at us, saying we don't need anything from Canada and this will have zero effect on America. Remember all that? Now, from March, all the way back from March till this point, you started hearing little rumblings from U.S. distilleries, U.S. officials, saying what Canada's doing is not right. Right? We're being unfair. Right? You hear that all the time. And for good reason, too. Because even in CUSMA, you heard the U.S. are demanding that Canada put U.S. alcohol back on the shelf, and for good reason. Because recently you've been seeing reports like this: Jim Beam to close one of its distilleries for a year. And I've heard all the excuses. Oh, Jim Beam has priced people out of being able to afford their alcohol. I've heard it all. But then you hear things like historic Kentucky bourbon distillery goes dark after Canada takes revenge over U.S. tariffs. And yes, they are referring to Jim Beam. And then you hear reports of another U.S. liquor brand files Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And obviously, this comes right back to us because groups of U.S. distilleries complains LCBO, other provinces favoring local alcohol. Well, no, obviously. A group of U.S. alcohol producers claim Canadian retailers are giving unfair advantage to local spirits. Yeah, I can see that. Including what it's called discriminatory
markups in Nova Scotia and other provinces. Now, I don't know if that's true, but even if it is, and where all that alcohol they pulled off the shelf? Well, you might be asking, where's all that alcohol? Well, technically, it's in storage. 3.2 million in U.S. alcohol is in storage. And it's rumored that Nova Scotia and Manitoba is selling their stock to charity. And Doug Ford said that he was looking into doing the exact same as well. So it doesn't really look like Canada is planning on buying and selling more U.S. alcohol. So I'm guessing the crying will continue until next time.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. You know, they laughed when Canada fought back, called it weak, said they didn't need anything from them at all, and now their distillers are hemorrhaging money, and suddenly Canada's being unfair for doing exactly what Trump did first. God, it's the same thing from the top down with the good old three-timers, man. The whole entire camp is like that.
Thanks to the ban on American booze, Ontario's Westcott Vineyards is expanding, and liquor store sales have jumped 600%.
Good for them.
We are leaning into this and expect our business to continue to grow, whether those products come back or not.
Owner Carolyn Hurst is happy to keep the ban in place and wants premiers to stand their ground.
It's been incredibly effective for small producers like us. Every dollar that's been spent on an Ontario wine and on a Westcott wine has gone right back into the province of Ontario.
There are new pushes from American lawmakers to get rid of the ban. California Senator Adam Schiff posted it's causing devastating harm. He sent this letter to Quebec's premier asking her to rescind it. While New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney launched legislation to investigate Canada for unfair trade practices called the Combating Attacks on Our National Alcoholic Drinks by Allies, or Canada Act.
Just want to get this deal done, and then we'll put that booze back on the shelves.
Ontario has held firm, while Quebec's premier's office told us in a statement this measure will remain in effect as long as the United States maintains these unjustified tariffs.
Canada is violating our own trade agreement with the Americans.
Former trade advisor to Stephen Harper, Meredith Lilly, believes the provinces overstepped.
I expect that there is a dance happening behind the scenes, and it would be my preference if the provinces took cues from the federal government. It's my hope that the federal government is seeking to get them back on the shelves.
Lilly says the ban is a tricky situation to unwind. Ottawa can't publicly call for it to be lifted if the premiers hold firm.
Interesting. American senators are literally begging Canada to stop, writing letters about the damage. Meanwhile, of course, Trump is out here still acting like tariffs are some brilliant negotiating strategy with zero to no consequences whatsoever. But we're living through it actively right now and have been for a year plus.
Do the Republicans down in the States not see the hypocrisy? So some lawmaker from northern New York is having a go at Canada because 8 provinces, excluding my one, have pulled U.S. alcohol off the shelves. And apparently sales of U.S. alcohol into Canada have fallen by like 78%. But the hypocrisy of this is Canada pushing back on an unmitigated attack on not only our economy, but our sovereignty. I mean, going after just about every sector of the Canadian economy and global economies. And then, of course, the orange narcissist talking about the 51st state and taking over our country and the prime minister as governor and all of that. So some little pushback. Now, I now go out of my way not to buy American products. I was never this way in the past. Never, ever did I look at it. And I feel so badly because I like to buy greens and fresh veggies and all sorts of things from California. But, you know, I actually look at the source of origin. So when I do go and buy wine, I absolutely look for either Canadian wines or Chilean wines or Argentine wines or any of our friends around the world. But the hypocrisy to think that somehow we're the bad guy in this, we're the country being assaulted by your megalomaniac wannabe dictator. So, you know what, look in a mirror before you attack us.
Very much true. You know, MAGA starts a trade war, watched it blow back on their own workers, and still can't connect the dots between their decisions and the wreckage. It's not a policy, guys. We know that, right? That's just arrogance with an economic body count.
Canada's only one temper tantrum away from singing the national anthem.
How did we get here? Canada was always like our cool older cousin who was a little introverted and weird, but like we could still hang out because they had NHL 93 on Genesis. But Trump is so good at manipulating people. Look at him. He's gotten you to hate the maple syrup people. Jesus Christ, they're like some of the most timid, nice, polite people in the world until you piss them off. Let's get a few things straight here. The tariff system that we're under was set up by Trump in his first administration. He set up the USMCA, which is the Mexico, Canada, and America trade agreement. Those tariffs that you were complaining about, Trump negotiated. at the time said it was the best deal ever. Also, there's a cap put in place that a certain amount of dairy from the U.S. comes in without any tariffs. Zero.
Interesting.
And we never even make it to that amount. It's only when we go over that a tariff would kick in, and it is high. But again, Trump negotiated that shit. We don't even get to half the amount. So enough with the bitching. Don't listen to your fucking Melanie Felon, orange son of a bitch. Start thinking for yourself. This is fucking stupid.
Absolutely. Canada has been the most chill neighbor we've ever had, and now MAGA's picking a fight based on straight up lies about trade. It's like burning down your own house because you're mad at the guy next door. How, in what world does that make sense?
You see, at first, when someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. What eventually occurs is, first, homegrown industries start relying on government protection in the form of high tariffs. They stop competing and stop making the innovative management and technological changes they need to succeed in world markets. And then, while all this is going on, something even worse occurs. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition. So soon, because of the prices made artificially high by tariffs that subsidize inefficiency and poor management, people stop buying. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs.
I mean, even Reagan understood that tariffs might sound tough, but they collapse markets and kill jobs, and he's supposed to be their hero. So what's the excuse now?
So Canada has proposed targeted tariffs in America. And besides going after, my heart goes out to you, Salute Boy, with 100% tariffs on Tesla, they're going to target MAGA states with their tariffs. You know, like peanut butter from Kentucky, morons from Texas. Anything America has an abundance of that we shoot out into the universe, Canada is going to put a tariff on it if it comes from a red state. And I am here for it. And I can only hope that China and Mexico follow suit with this. Dude, you guys, you did not win a dictatorship with one presidential election. This did not give you universal power to destroy our country. Because guess what? Unless you're planning for a true dictatorship, you better be careful what you wish for, Republicans. Because you better hope we don't get somebody like Bernie Sanders in office in 4 years, where he now would have the power just to shove Medicare for all down your throat, to shove college for all down your throat, to make being a billionaire illegal. A boy can dream.
Yep, Canada's hitting back at MAGA state products specifically, and that's smart, you know, including 100% tariff on Tesla. They know exactly where this is going to hurt, and they're not playing defense anymore.
Stop. I can't believe he actually said that. Looks like the Liberals are going to have a meltdown with this one.
At the time of a global energy crisis, Canada provides the United States with reliable power, with critical minerals that help fuel American growth. That is mutual strength. Let's be absolutely clear. Canada Strong will help make America great again. Examples.
Well, I'm sorry to say, Liberals, but you've been bamboozled. You've been sold this elbows up BS now for over a year, thinking that hating the Americans was your sacred Canadian duty, some kind of patriotic thing. But it turns out that Mark Carney understands what I've been saying now for a very long time. The only way Canada wins, the best strategy for Canada is the following: winning by helping America win. This mutual symbiotic relationship has been the trump card, literally, of our country now since its inception. So for the last year, all you guys have done was undermine our economic growth, but it seems like Carney can't quite fool you guys anymore. The mask came off, and he's MAGA, baby!
Yep, Carney just reminded everyone that Canada supplies the energy and minerals America actually needs, and wrapped it in a Make America Great Again language that had to really sting for the MAGA crowd.
The price of literally everything is about to go up because of Donald Trump's tariffs. Here's a handful of things that you should buy immediately. First, if you own a car, fill up your gas tank. 70% of the oil that we import into America and turn into the gasoline you buy at the gas station comes from Canada. That oil will be more expensive. Secondly, if you're looking to buy a car, do that now. 1 out of 5 cars and small trucks sold in America are either manufactured in Canada or Mexico. And for all of my Connors and Coltons out there that voted for Trump that drive lifted F-150s, Ford's F-Series trucks engines are all produced in Canada. They will become 25% more expensive. Tequila, avocados, guacamole, lumber, pharmaceuticals, all of these things will become more expensive. Donald Trump has failed the American people. He ran on the promise of decreasing prices, and here we are 12 days into his administration talking about what you need to buy now before they become unaffordable.
Crazy. 1 in 5 vehicles comes from Canada or Mexico, so when those tariffs hit, they're going straight onto your car payment. This isn't economic strategy at all. It's just making everything more expensive for no reason at all.
The MAGA musician Sean Foyke, who is scheduled to perform in Halifax last Wednesday, is having his permits revoked in nearly every Canadian city. I told you on Tuesday that he was scheduled to perform Wednesday night at a National Historic Site in Halifax, and then his permit was actually revoked. Just a reminder, this performer is an anti-LGBTQIA advocate. He's anti-abortion. He's also involved with white supremacy movements and has even had the Proud Boys conduct security at some of his concerts. Now we're finding out that his permits in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, were revoked. His permits in Moncton, New Brunswick were also revoked. And now Quebec City has also revoked his permits. Canadians across the country and cities are making it clear that they do not stand for what MAGA represents. He is scheduled to play at a park in Toronto this weekend, Dufferin District Park. We'll have to see if they allow him to continue with his concert. Let me know what you think in the comments, and make sure you're following me on Substack to get more updates on this.
Pretty crazy, but understandable. They're drawing a line about what kind of messaging they'll platform, and honestly, good for them. You know, good for them.
50% tariffs on Canada. Can you explain the timing? Why now?
So first of all, Canada has had its retaliatory measures in place on us for at least a year. Things like dairy have been discriminatory against the United States for even longer than that. So we have been considering very tailored action to respond to those things, which we've done. So we have 3 separate actions. One for the hard cap that they put on some of our cars, or the quotas and the system they put on our cars. The total ban they've put some of the provinces, many of the provinces, on alcohol and liquor and that kind of thing, and then of course what was the last one? The dairy, where they give the Europeans a better deal than we do. So this is something that's been in preparation for some time. We have tried for over a year to get the Canadians to eliminate these things. Again, we've given them the best treatment available in the world in the past year or so, and despite that, they've still taken these actions. So we thought it was necessary to elevate this. Last question.
To further antagonize the relationship between the countries?
I have great interactions with my counterparts. I talk to them. For us, this is business. This is trade. This is economics. We're looking at bottom lines.
I mean, they can't even explain it because there is no explanation, right? It's just Trump's impulse dressed up as policy while actual trade experts are left scrambling to justify the wreckage in real time. That's literally all it is. Guys, if you haven't already, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, notifications. Let me know in the comments. Again, what do you think about all this? I mean, Canada, it's so unnecessary, all this stuff. If you're Canadian watching this, I definitely know we have a large Canadian viewer base on the channel recently because we've been covering Canadian topics. Let me know what you think about this. Again, I've asked it before, I'll ask it again.
President Trump is demanding even more money from Americans buying goods from one of the country's biggest trade partners. His proposed 50% tariffs on certain Canadian goods like electrical equipment and machinery are among the steepest levied against any country, covering about $20 billion worth of goods, according to the White House. Trump cited a nearly 100-year-old tariff law to justify the move, despite the law never really being applied in such a way, and threatens to reignite a trade battle. Canadian lawmakers are not taking this sitting down, with Ontario Premier Doug Ford writing on X, quote, "If these tariffs proceed, Canada should respond tariff for tariff, dollar for dollar." Several key Canadian imports like energy products, critical minerals, fish, and other goods that are subject to industry-specific duties are excluded from these tariffs. However, unlike other levies Trump has enacted against Canada, there will be no carve-outs for goods covered by the trade pact known as the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, which is currently under negotiation.
Goodness, man, they're threatening to trade war with Canada, one of our closest allies and biggest trading partners, because Trump just needs a villain. And facts have never stopped him before, so why would they now? This is just ridiculous. Guys, if you haven't already, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it.
President Trump thinks Canada will cave in. We will never, ever bow down to a bully. Canadians will always stick together, and we won't stand by as tariffs hurt our workers and their families. Canadians need to remain united.
Yeah, I mean, when your closest ally tells you they're not backing down, maybe that's a sign you picked the wrong fight. But MAGA, of course, doesn't do self-reflection really well at all.
Canadians are mean and nasty.
That is what the President of the United States thinks of you. Because you stopped buying American products, because you canceled your American vacations, because you pulled American whiskey off your shelves, because you chose to spend your money in your own country. That made them angry. Not because you were wrong, because it worked.
That's ridiculous, man. The boycott's working. So now they're mad about it. MAGA loves the free market right up until people actually use their freedom to choose. Funny how that works.
As British Columbians and as Canadians, we'll stand strong and united in the face of this unprecedented attack. This is not a fight we started, but we will respond firmly and forcefully. Here in BC, we support a strong Team Canada approach to stand up to Donald Trump. For our first of many steps, effective today, I have directed BC liquor sales to immediately stop buying American liquor from red states. Liquor store employees will be removing the most popular of these brands from government store shelves. I have directed government and our crown corporations like BC Hydro, ICBC and health authorities to immediately stop buying American goods and services and buy Canadian. And finally, we have communicated our full support to the federal government for a comprehensive, targeted set of national tariffs against American products. We call on them to act with urgency. The Americans are bigger, but if we don't stand up for ourselves, they'll just keep coming back for more.
Dang. Very fair. You know, this is what standing up looks like. They're not begging or both sidesing it. They're hitting back with real measures because bullies only understand strength. This is a good position.
You know, it's hysterical, the MAGA response to Canadians boycotting American products and canceling their trips to the United States. Well, we're not going to buy Canadian products. Honey, that's going to be hard because you can't even identify Canada on a map, let alone Canadian-made products. So good luck with that.
It is funny. She's not wrong. They'll scream about boycotting Canada while buying Canadian lumber, oil, and electricity without even knowing where it comes from. Ridiculous. Guys, if you haven't already, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, notifications on. And again, as always, if you're Canadian, if you're from somewhere, if you're boycotting in some way, let me know in the comment section. It's pretty insane. We've had a very large influx of Canadian viewers the past 5 or so days, and so maybe you're here because of that, maybe you're around, maybe you subscribe because of it, but just to let you know, I have a good bit of family from Canada, and so I am absolutely in support. Let's get into it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Antonio. Prime Minister, dear Mark, at our last summit, it was an honor to visit St. John's, Newfoundland, which has a very special place in my heart because this is the place where my husband landed at the 9/11 attacks. And it was a time where my husband and later on me, we felt the warmth and the hospitality of the people of Newfoundland firsthand. Now, dear Mark, I've seen the beauty of Alberta in Kananaskis. You have indeed a vast country, and I'm happy to see more of it. Same goes for you, Antonio. So we'll be back, and we're very curious to see where you will lead us to, perhaps to the Arctic, which is so important to both of us, and where we have been so clear about the EU support to our Greenlandic partners. Dear Mark, you took the helm of the G7 presidency in challenging times, and you delivered. You brought countries together at a moment when unity is more vital than ever. You helped bring focus to pressing issues, encouraged frank exchange. And you said at this moment, we have to turn the many challenges into change. That is what we're doing today as we meet here in Brussels.
You know, it really is funny, right? It's almost like when you're not performing for MAGA crowds, even, you know, Trump knows Canada matters and everyone else does too, but that version never makes it to the rallies, right? Does it? So, you know, it's really nice. Props being given.
When U.S. President Donald Trump first threatened Canadian sovereignty, few, if any, of Canada's allies came to its defense publicly. But this week, French President Emmanuel Macron brought it up as an example of the U.S. turning away from its allies and breaking international norms. Every day, people wonder if Canada will be threatened with becoming the 51st state, if Greenland will be invaded. Macron was speaking to a gathering of ambassadors in Paris. We are living in a time of utter chaos. It's the law of the strongest that prevails. His comments come days after the U.S. launched a military operation in Venezuela, and as the Trump administration ramps up its pledge to take over Greenland.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
Canada's former ambassador to the United Nations says it's all in line with the U.S.'s new national security strategy.
The hemisphere belongs to them and nobody else.
they will use force if required. This is a deadly, serious challenge, not just for Canada, but for every country.
In an interview this week with the New York Times, Trump brushed aside questions about international law, saying his power is constrained only by his own morality. Taria Isri, Global News, Montreal.
Ridiculous. I mean, when France has to remind America how sovereign nations work, you just know you've fallen off the rails in a way that's genuinely embarrassing on the world stage. It just keeps getting worse and worse, quarter by quarter. It's insane.
So I heard today that Trump said that Canada would not survive without the United States. Fuck off. Listen, we have the resources. We have the land. We've got a relatively small population. We could go on and on and on surviving while these fucking idiots destroy their country. So, you know what? Time to pull the plug on these fuckers.
Canada holds the energy, the water, the resources, we actually need, right? But, sure, let's pretend that they're the ones who'd collapse first. The delusion is breathtaking. We would hold our own, but so would they. It's not like they're just going to crumble within months. They are a functioning country that has a functioning system.
All right. This is for Canada. Canada, please. Come to the front. The Prime Minister, please listen to me. Please, somebody get this to Canada, please. I am seeking asylum. Please come get me. I do not want to be in America no more. Like, I never chose America. America chose me, and I am sick of it. I didn't pick this president. This wasn't part of me. Come get me, Canada. What's the Prime Minister's name? Hold on. Justin. Tag Justin in the comments. Tag Canada in the comments. Come get me. I'm ready to go. All I got is $2. I ain't bringing shit else. Just come get me. Cause I can't. I'm not American enough. I'm sorry.
Crazy. I mean, it's got to the point where Americans are literally begging other countries for refuge from their own government. That's insane. I mean, that should just tell you everything about where we are right now, right? But again, we're not surprised. We feature this on the channel all the time. It's sad. It is.
They're not welcome here. This is not who we are. In Toronto, we're an inclusive city. We know that together we are stronger, and which is why we do not want ICE to be right here in Toronto, because it brings fear, it brings chaos, and we have a city that is so full of diverse migrants, immigrants, refugees, coming from everywhere around the globe. We want them to feel welcome.
This is what actual leadership looks like, protecting your community instead of using vulnerable people as a political prop to score points, essentially, with a base that thrives on cruelty. Good old three-timers. They crave for that kind of thing.
So thank God for Canada, because right now as the world is shaping up, we need a lot of Canada in the world. And if Mark Carney remains the Prime Minister, which he ought to, considering all that you've just said, we'll have a real defender there. He's becoming a real global champion. This guy's a real hero. People are talking about him around the world in glowing terms.
Yeah, BBC said the other day, and I thought it was great, they're like, hey, listen, the entire free world needs to go full Carney.
I mean, it really does say everything that the rest of the world is looking at Canada's stability and decency and wishing they had more of it, while we're over here speedrunning chaos. Man, those midterms really hits back.
There is not a chance in hell that U.S. alcohol is going back on the shelf.
If he continues to constantly bully us, we can't keep rolling over. We can't keep backing down.
New tariffs or not, provincial premiers are not backing down.
But with the U.S. booze ban cited as a major irritant in trade talks, how much has it hurt U.S. businesses?
The ban started last February when 8 provinces began clearing shelves and restricting the import of U.S. alcohol. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, between 2024 and 2025, wine exports from the U.S. to Canada fell by $343 million. That's a 77% drop. And a recent study found U.S. exports for wine, distilled spirits, and beer plummeted from $744 million to $208 million, a 72% decrease, or a $536 million loss. A big hit for states depending on Canadian customers.
It's hurting us, and it's hurting our industry. And I have the Finger Lakes wineries in my region. I have a lot of great spirits manufacturers.
So, was it worth it?
I'm not sure the ban was that effective.
David Soberman is a marketing professor.
I don't think it really convinced the Americans or the current American administration to change anything.
He's skeptical about the effectiveness of the ban and says some Canadians are still getting around it.
I think that for the most part, People have continued to buy the products that they want, and many of us, certainly people who are very committed to, for example, drinking bourbon, might have actually just driven across the border and purchased it and then come back.
Soberman thinks if the ban was dropped, Canadians would go from elbows to bottoms up.
The thing that makes the liquor market so interesting is there's so many different kinds. I think you will see the American products will pick up their sales to where they were before.
On the streets of Toronto, some are certainly ready for the ban to be over.
Because I like bourbon.
And you miss it?
Well, actually, I travel to the States a lot, so I bring it back. So I have been hoarding my own stash.
There are certain brands that I like. The taste is very particular.
While others are holding firm.
I think we have a lot of good Canadian options. I would stick up for Canada and not buy it.
I've boycotted kind of like the Trump administration.
But public policy professor Drew Fagan says President Trump didn't give Canada much of a choice.
The question is, has it done more harm than good?
Donald Trump is at this stage going to take offense at anything.
So you're saying if it wasn't a ban on booze, it would be some other way of pushing back that would just upset Washington?
I don't think governments in Canada could withstand political pressure to not do anything. On the one hand, you don't want to bait the bear. On the other hand, sometimes a bully needs to be, sort of hit in the nose a little bit.
He says, well, the new tariffs haven't come into effect. Pay attention to what Trump is targeting.
He imposed tariffs on hockey sticks. How big is the market for hockey sticks in the United States? It's symbolic.
While leaving alone critical minerals and energy, where he still needs Canadian cooperation.
Damn. I mean, there's something clarifying about watching a whole country collectively decide they're done being treated like a doormat by someone who needs them more than they'll admit.
So the orange clown is at it again. He doesn't like the smoke from the wildfires. Oh yeah, we intentionally lit them just so he could get some smoke. He's gonna give us some 50% tariffs in a few things, dairy, lumber, shit like that. Yeah, you know what it is? Our boycotts are working. I've been watching the reports. Their sales on things are going down because Canada is their biggest buyer. And when we stop buying, we hurt them. When we stop traveling to the United States, it hurts them. Disneyland, unfortunately, because Disneyland is against Trump too, that's fortunate they get hurt. But Vegas, those places, everything's down because Canadians aren't going. So keep it up. Keep up the good work. I've heard some people go, we got to stop fighting, and the premiers are getting together now, and we got to stop fighting the United States and just make a deal with them. You know what I say? Fuck them. Fuck them. Screw that fat orange blob, and screw them. We don't need them. We're diversifying. We're making deals all over Europe, Norway, Germany, China. Let's start doing that. Screw the United States. The United States is never going to come out of this. They've killed themselves. They're done. Let's just keep moving forward and do what we do best. Like and follow, folks. Thank you.
The confidence comes from knowing your leverage, right? When you're sitting on resources they actually need, boycotts aren't just symbolic, they're strategic.
Canada not wanting to do business with the United States has ramifications that a lot of Americans just don't get. First off, the fact that one of our closest allies doesn't want to do business with us anymore signifies to the rest of the world that our credibility is low. We have alienated one of our closest allies, somebody who has fought for us, defended us, and has stepped into major conflicts to support us. That's number one. So that's an issue. The other large issue is the fact that Canada has been importing our products for decades. And in 2023, they took over $277 billion worth of our products and imported into their country. 2024 is looking like it's going to be about $322 billion, but those numbers haven't been finalized yet. However, the main point is this. Who's going to buy all of that product that now Canada wants to boycott? Because as we've already seen, they're taking our stuff off the wants to boycott, because as we've already seen, they're taking our stuff off the shelves, and a lot of people that have commented on my post have actually said, I look for stuff that says made in the US and I put it back on the shelf. Does anybody else see this problem? Leave a comment, repost this so more people can see. I want to hear what you guys think.
I mean, he is right. Credibility is built on keeping your word and honoring partnerships, and they're watching us torch both in real time over ego and ignorance.
J.D. Vance was televised about 7 hours ago saying that Canada cannot win a trade war with the United States. He said that it was completely unfair for Canada to retaliate with retaliatory tariffs of their own when Donald Trump imposed a 25% tariff on Canada. Hey JD, hey Donald Trump, you stupid ass motherfuckers. That's how trade wars work. If you impose a tariff on them, they are going to impose a tariff on you. This is not some schoolyard bully shit. This is real life. And this is why our stock market today tanked another 800 points. He is crippling our economy. He is destroying us within. He's destroying our trade partners. And as I said in my video, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, Canada does not need the United States. Mexico does not need the United States. They can trade with China, Australia. They can trade with Europe. They don't need us. And so now what you're seeing is Canadians not coming to the United States. They are completely boycotting tourism in the United States. Many of them have homes in Florida, in different parts of the United States, which they're now selling. They're not coming here to visit family, friends, because why would they want to contribute their dollars to this pathetic ass country that's treating them like shit? Doesn't make a lot of sense now, does it? And if this trade war escalates into an actual war, I know you got guys like JD Vance and Donald Trump thinking, we got the biggest military, we'll annihilate. No, you won't. No, you won't. Because you have 70% of the American people that would join forces with Canada to defeat you.
Very true.
We are not on your side by any means, Donald Trump and JD Vance. MAGA makes up about, well, now probably about 20% of the United States. The rest of the 70% of us would join forces with them to take you down from within. Don't you forget that, you stupid fucks.
They picked a fight assuming Canada would just absorb it quietly, and now they're discovering that retaliation from a trading partner this large isn't theoretical. It's economically absolutely devastating.
The Supreme Court's already ruled that tariffs are illegal, but that doesn't matter to Trump because he just enacted another 50% tariff on a lot of Canadian goods. Why? Because he's mad about wildfire smoke. But he doesn't actually care about you or me. He just wants money, because if he cared about us, he wouldn't have paid billions of dollars to cancel green energy contracts so his oil buddies could get more money.
So the Supreme Court says it's illegal, but he does it anyways because he's throwing a tantrum about wildfire smoke while cutting green energy to pad his oil donors' pockets. I mean, that's the whole operation. Literally right there.
What's next? What's the next country that's just gonna fucking throw it in our face? You tell me in the comments. Listen to this lady. She gives peak Canadian energy.
I think who I voted for would be the best to take care of Trump, because Trump is, I'm sorry to say, an ass, and he shouldn't even be president of the United States. But because he is, we need a strong person so that we can stand strong.
So when it comes to Canadians, she's like raging. What happened to the whole, we're not going to mess with the rest of the world, it's not our business, we're going to take care of the USA? Trump has done nothing but fuck with the entire world. This is so fucking stupid. It's wild to me that if you remember, at the end of World War II, they thought of the US as the sleeping giant that got awoke. We're doing that shit all over the place, including Canada. They were the sleeping moose who's about to go fucking buck wild with maple syrup all over us. So Mark Carney, with the surprise win for Prime Minister, purely off an agenda that was anti-Trump. Are you fucking kidding me? Only Trump, man. Only Trump can do this shit.
Again, what do you say, right? It's very true. MAGA thought that they could bully Canada simply into submission, and instead Carney's party just won on a wave of anti-Trump fury. And it turns out, after all of it, threatening to annex your ally doesn't really play well as they thought. I mean, where did you think that was going to go?
Trump is hunting Canada because he is now extremely unhappy with Mark Carney. Even though he hasn't fully swallowed Greenland yet, he claims that the Golden Dome air defense system could clearly protect Canada, yet Canada opposes the US building it over Greenland. He also accuses China of planning to annex Canada within a year, yet Canada is still doing business with China, even visited China. Every accusation is a confession. Everyone knows China just wants to do business with everyone. It's not like the US, which steals oil and robs land. Just yesterday, U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent publicly declared that Canada's province of Alberta should betray Canada and join the United States. His reasoning was that the people of Alberta are very independent, they crave sovereignty, and they want things that only the United States has. Do you know why? Very simple. Alberta holds 97% of Canada's oil reserves. At present, its largest export market is the United States. Since Alberta still hasn't built an oil pipeline under the ocean, so no need to export oil elsewhere, and instead should totally go to the United States. Alberta itself is disloyal to Canada. It opposes Canada doing business with China and fears provoking US sanctions. So if one day Alberta commits treason and asks to join the United States, of course backed by the United States government and the oligarchs, no one should be surprised about it, right? You know, a robber never robs just once and never robs only one person or one nation. So who's gonna be the next?
Yeah, I mean, he's not negotiating. He's targeting a specific province because, of course, it has oil. This isn't trade policy. It's just old-fashioned resource grabbing dressed up in tariff link.
Boycott the United States as much as you can because it's such a hegemonic power. There's American companies all over the world. We all work at American companies. All of our stores we work at sell American products. Do what you can. That includes boycotting the store I work at. I work in an adult toy store, and most of our toys, yes, they're manufactured in China, but they're sold and purchased through the United States. That includes Cal Exotics, NS Novelties, NAS Toys. I'm going to add links that are retailers of adult toys that are not based out of the United States. The United States is full-on Yahtzee, fascist. They're already attacking other countries. They're threatening Mexico, Cuba, Greenland, Canada, everywhere. They're causing civil unrest. They're pew-pewing their own citizens and immigrants and everyone and spreading tyranny. Yahtzee Germany became Yahtzee Germany in 1933. They invaded Poland in 1939. The United States has already attacked and invaded another country. So in that sense, it's worse.
I mean, Canadians are cutting off American suppliers completely. That's absolutely what's going on. It's been going on for a little bit, but more so as time moves on. You know, we turned our best trade partner into an enemy, and that absolutely destroys us.
I'm in the comments of some of the news videos coming out about the tariffs, and I see that other countries are actually boycotting American goods. Good. Please keep doing that. Keep boycotting the goods. I don't know what it's gonna take for people to learn and to understand the severity of what's going on. Keep doing it. Keep boycotting it. I didn't even know you guys were doing that. Keep doing it. We are literally begging for somebody to show somebody in this country that it is not possible for you to do whatever you want with absolutely no consequences and no repercussions, and to show that the leaders and the powers that be right now are not all powerful. Don't get me wrong, we're absolutely struggling over here. We're confused, we're in shock, but oh my Lord, I didn't even know that that was organized in other countries. Keep doing it. I'm not even sure what kind of products we're even offering that are like just so good, but honestly, keep doing it. All right, it can't be prime. But other than that, just thank you, because I didn't even know you guys were doing that, especially Canada.
She's right. You know, the rest of the world needs to show Trump that bullying your allies absolutely has real, lasting costs and consequences too.
Donald Trump, thank you for causing the Canadians to boycott the United States. I thought you said you were a smart businessman, Donald Trump. When you cause your customers not to come and buy your product, to travel to your country, that is not a wise decision. It only costs the American workers money. That is not a smart thing to do. They are boycotting all American products, and they're boycotting travel to the United States. Thanks to your wisdom to tariff Canada, and thanks to your wisdom to constantly joke about making Canada the 51st state. They're not interested. It's not going to happen. All you've done is turn our closest ally and closest friend into somebody that does not like us, will not buy American products, and will not travel to the United States because of you. You, Donald Trump. So when you see your sales to Canadians drop because they don't buy our products, they're not buying Coca-Cola, they're not buying Campbell's soup, they're not buying Frito-Lay, they're not buying Lay's potato chips, they're not buying Apple, they're not traveling here, thanks to Donald Trump. So if you work in these business and industries, travel and tourism, you can thank Donald Trump when it slows down. Thank you, Donald Trump. You are such a brilliant person.
I love this guy's sarcasm.
My MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, my burned out light bulbs, and my Canadians, you too. Also, guys, this is my second channel. This is my backup channel, Greg 3. Greg 2 is my main channel.
Respect. Shout out to Greg. Seriously. I mean, our closest neighbor is now actively boycotting us. Like I said, has been, because Trump couldn't leave the things alone. You know, it's crazy.
I mean, Canada's our neighbor, and you don't treat neighbors that way. And all of us are really upset about that.
We are going to roll over. There's one thing that President Trump is underestimating: the will of the Canadian people.
No.
No? How come?
Because I really think that Canada is going to come out ahead of this game.
avoiding buying American products.
Mexican items, anything other than the United States.
Trump's tariff threats have ignited a firestorm of patriotism in Ontario. McDonald's counters now sit abandoned. Coca-Cola cans collect dust. And for the first time in decades, America's most powerful brands look breakable on Canadian soil. An easy mark that would be a pushover. Oh, how wrong he was. What began as a silent boycott has erupted into a full-scale economic earthquake. Factories shuttered, truckers in Ohio parked with no loads, warehouses in Georgia overflowing with unsold goods. Trump's trade war didn't just spark tariffs, it triggered a consumer rebellion.
America's most iconic brands are collapsing in real time. Ontario's boycott has turned consumer choice into a weapon, more powerful than tariffs.
And the warning is unmistakable. If two American giants can collapse this fast, which brand will be next?
That's super true. Major American companies gathering dust, withering away, just completely disappearing in Canada because Trump touched, or rather torched, and I guess also touched a decades-long relationship and completely ruined it.
So our friends in Canada are continuing their boycott of the United States. And this article per CBC News says U.S. tourism faces $5.7 billion loss as Canadians continue to stay home. And the article reads, many Canadians continue to boycott travel to the United States, and the U.S. economy is paying the price. A U.S. Travel Association report forecasts a 3.2% decline in international tourism spending in the country for 2025, a loss of $5.7 billion U.S. compared to the previous year. The association largely attributes the loss to a decline in the number of Canadian visitors, a trend that has persisted since U.S. President Donald Trump returned to office in January, sparked a trade war with Canada, and began referring to the country as the 51st state. Also, I would like to add the fact that I think a lot of Canadians would fear for their lives if they were to enter the United States, with the fear of being picked up by immigration. In the latest data for October, the number of return trips among Canadians traveling to the U.S. dropped by 24% for air travel and 30% for land travel, compared with the same time last year. That marks 10 straight months. And we're seeing a lot of tourism decline in such places as Vegas, Florida, and the boycotting of U.S.-made goods such as whiskey. And I honestly do not blame the Canadians at all. You guys are standing firm on your decision, and I completely support it.
He mentioned California, Vegas. They absolutely bleeding money because Canadians aren't coming anymore. And again, who's that thanks to? Trump and the amazing, beautiful, awesome sarcasm, by the way, 3-time MAGA voters, and even 2-time, and even 1-time. Well, maybe like 2016. You know, they get a pass.
We have some news this morning. MAGA has erupted overnight over Barack Obama visiting Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. Barack Obama visited Canada, and now MAGA is suggesting that he should be arrested, that he's launching some type of coup. I mean, you can't really make these things up, but it is a Saturday morning, so there usually is a crazy headline. You have folks like Laura Loomer saying, why is Barack Obama meeting with world leaders while President Trump is in office? This is a coup. You have another one, this is a big MAGA account on Twitter, saying Barack Obama's up in Canada holding private discussions with Mark Carney. Obama needs to sit down and figure his freaking place before his ass ends up in prison for violating the Logan Act. Mind you, Donald Trump met with world leaders in 2024 before he was president again and when he wasn't in office. There's nothing wrong with Barack Obama meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, but it does upset them because Trump doesn't have a great relationship with Carney. And if Obama has a good relationship, well, that's not good for, I guess, MAGA in some way. In any event, spread the word, follow along for all the news you need to know about. I'll have another update for you soon.
Goodness, man. Obama shakes hands in Canada and MAGA screams coup. You know what I mean? Like, they've completely lost the plot, but when haven't they? If you haven't already, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it.
This is an issue that is important to every single one of us as Americans. This is not a partisan issue. It has to do with the integrity and the strength of our democratic republic. And it lays out this over 100 documents that you're referencing that I released, declassified and released, spells out in great detail exactly what happens when you have some of the most powerful people in our country directly leading at the helm, President Obama and his senior-most national security cabinet, James Comey, John Brennan, James Clapper, and Susan Rice, and others, essentially making a very intentional decision to create this manufactured, politicized piece of intelligence with the objective of subverting the will of the American people who in November of 2016 delivered a historic victory to President Trump, defeating Hillary Clinton. And President Obama and his team, their goal was to essentially not accept the decision of the American people, and to use this manufactured, politicized intelligence as a means to enact what would become essentially a years-long coup against President Trump.
It's insane to me, man. Fox calling a diplomatic visit treason. Oh my God, that's where we're at now with these people nowadays.
I don't know how people live up here. Okay. Because we just went to the mall, and $260 for a pair of, say, shoes that I can get down the States for $50. Yeah. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. So I'm from Arizona. What's it like? Keep up with Canadian politics.
Coming from an American, what do you think about our prime minister?
That he's a douchebag? No, good. I think that Trump is gonna do what Trump does, and he is gonna have Greenland, and he's gonna have Canadian, and we're gonna free this country.
You think that Canada is gonna become the 51st state?
Absolutely.
And how do you think Trump is actually gonna take this? Because the majority of Canadians, okay, don't get me wrong, from what I'm seeing, there's some Canadians are supporting it, and the other side, they're not.
That's right. I know that. But I don't think it matters whether they're supporting it or not, because I honestly think it's all behind the scenes of what they're doing anyways. So it's possible that it's the move to the one world order. That's a possibility. But yeah, I think Greenland, the Panama Canal, and we're all going to be one big country and free you all from your slavery here.
Hypothetically speaking, if Canada were to become the 51st state, do you think that we would start seeing some positive effects in our country or negative effects?
Every single stereotype exists because enough people keep proving it true. And right now, MAGA is working overtime to make sure the world sees exactly who they are. And let me tell you, we are so happy you're doing that, Mr. and Mrs. three-time MAGA voter. It's very nice, but we already knew. Everyone already knew. But, hey, some people are waking up better late than ever, but it's way too late.
Canada just booed America during the hockey game after the national anthem because they're mad about the tariff situation. No one from America gives a fuck. And I know you see some people making videos like, oh, Canada's mad at us. Nobody gives a fuck about those people either, just so you know.
Hey, that's the kind of arrogance that is exactly why we're losing allies and influence. Well, unfortunately, China picks up everything we're too proud to notice we're dropping.
Well, President Trump had his meeting with the Prime Minister of Canada today, and he didn't hold back any punches. He gave full-out boss moves the whole time.
This is a MAGA flashback from May 2025 when Trump threatened to make Canada a 51st state and instituted a bunch of tariffs.
Told him that, no, this meeting does not stop tariffs, does not put any relief on those tariffs, and sorry, you kind of only just make sense as a 51st state.
Yeah, so what did we think was going to happen after that? Did we think that Canada was just going to fold because they're weaker than the United States? No. You see, the United States is not the only superpower in the world. In fact, there are others who want the United States to come down from its pedestal and to take our spot.
Yep.
While Canada may not be a formidable opponent for the United States, they can take their business elsewhere, and that's exactly what they are now agreeing to do.
Trump didn't hold back. It's what we need. True signs of a leader.
It is not the sign of good leadership to be immature, unpredictable, and lack restraint. Holding yourself back, I would argue, is one of the main qualities we need in a president. Wisdom, tact, and foresight, most importantly, are traits that leaders need to possess, all of which Trump has not exhibited in his negotiations with our allies. Now, the reason I wanted to show that video is because we're now seeing this same playbook being done with Greenland.
We are going to take over Greenland. It is a fact. It is going to happen.
Do you see it now? Trump makes an empty threat to gain leverage in a negotiation. The world panics, and his followers eat it up as truth. We do need more military bases in Greenland. We do need better trade deals with our allies. But this negotiation tactic that MAGA has deployed does nothing more than push our allies towards our adversaries. The European Union and Canada may not agree with China on many things, but if the United States becomes so unpredictable and unreliable as a partner, they will go to China.
Yep, Trump's entire trade strategy is quite literally taking a bat to our own kneecaps, and then wondering why we can't walk. Shooting yourself in the foot and wondering why we can only crawl. Meanwhile, Xi here is writing thank you notes.
So Donald Trump was right. Canada does have a 300% tariff on things like butter. But what he's not telling you is that this tariff from Canada is based on a quota. And what that means is Canada allows a certain amount of product to be transported to the United States at low to 0% tariffs. And then when it reaches a certain quota, then it jumps to 300%. And that seems fair. You know, you want to keep your product close to home. And that has been the case since 1995. This quota of low to 0% tariffs and then jumps to 300%. So you using that reason to start a trade war is bullshit. Canada will not become a 51st state. They will not stop with the tit-for-tat tariffs. And if you continue to keep doing this, tariffs are going to get out of control, and then nobody's going to be able to afford anything. We already have 1 million people with a more expensive electricity bill. Stop this.
I mean, this is what drives me nuts about these public fights. They throw out a number that sounds outrageous, but the actual policy is way more reasonable than the headline really makes it sound. It's like absolutely inflated. That said, if you haven't already, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into this one.
Canadians are now lashing out against Trump's proposed 25% tariff on Canadian goods, with 2/3 of Canadians now saying that they would avoid buying U.S. products altogether. 65% of Canadians say that they would steer completely clear of U.S.-made goods if the tariffs were to go through, and on top of that, 50% of Canadians say that they would rather Canada try to negotiate with the U.S. as opposed to retaliate. And experts are warning that a Canadian boycott would cost American businesses billions of dollars.
Fair assumptions, and honestly, when regular people start changing the grocery, shopping over politics, that's when you know the real damage something's happening, and it's not going away quickly.
Canada just embarrassed Donald Trump for the second time in one day. Now, if you missed it earlier today, Donald Trump was crying a river because Canada is airing a commercial in the U.S. that discusses the dangers to the U.S. economy of tariffs. And Donald Trump thought he could show Canada by saying he was going to stop all trade negotiations with them. Well, Mark Carney responded by saying, "I don't care. I'm headed to Asia anyways to secure trade deals that you thought you would get." That's right. Canada is taking the trade deals that Donald Trump promised he would get. Remember 90 deals in 90 days? Never happened. But Mark Carney has already secured a trade deal with Indonesia. He's in Malaysia securing another. And he said he's going to all of the economic powers in Asia, which includes China. Donald Trump thought he could control the world, that the world would come begging to him to make trade deals. Remember, he said they were on the phone begging, "Please, we'll do anything to make a trade deal." Well, Mark Carney and the rest of the world are saying, "Go pound sand, Donald, because we're moving on without you." And all of his threats are now empty and hollow.
Yeah, I mean, the part here that matters isn't the posturing. It's that they're actively building relationships that don't include us, America. And that has consequences heavily down the road.
Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that.
Canada and the United States have built a remarkable partnership in the economy, in security, and in rich cultural exchange. But Canada doesn't live because of the United States. Canada thrives because we are Canadian.
Yeah, I mean, you can disagree about trade policy all day, but insulting your biggest trading partner like that, that's not a strategy at all. It's just reckless. It's horrible. It's disgusting.
So last night, Donald Trump posted this, and it has a lot of people very worried because nobody really knows what he's talking about. At 9:55 p.m., he posted this image of an unidentified woman saying, "Great daughter. My honor." That's certainly not his daughter. I don't know if he got confused. That is certainly not Ivanka Trump. The leading theory right now on social media that it's a picture of this woman in Camp David during Bill Clinton's term. The great daughter is her daughter, the current chairwoman of the Manhattan Republican Party. Now, that's what people think this photo is and think that's what he meant by it, but there's really no way to tell with Donald Trump. His mind is a pretty terrible place, and it really wouldn't surprise me, given his mental decline, if he thought this was Ivanka and uploaded it.
At a certain point, someone around him has to step in because this isn't normal behavior for anyone, let alone someone in this big, important position.
Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, just slammed Donald Trump and his threat of annexing the country shortly after being selected by the Liberal Party as the next Prime Minister. This is great. Take a look.
America is not Canada. And Canada never, ever will be part of America in any way, shape, or form. Look, we didn't ask for this fight. We didn't ask for this fight. But Canadians are always ready when someone else drops the gloves. So the Americans, they should make no mistake, in trade as in hockey, Canada will win.
Yeah, Donald Trump has truly done the impossible, pissing off the Canadians, some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Donald Trump's threat of annexing Canada is just pushing us away further from our allies, not only from Canada, but from countries around the world who are looking at us as if we're crazy. Mark Carney, the new Prime Minister of Canada, is standing up to Donald Trump for being a bully. I'm always going to root for the United States, but I won't support Donald Trump in his effort to further alienate us around the world.
You know, and it's interesting, as they should, it's how quickly the tone shifted, right? You know, they're not trying to smooth things over specifically. I'm talking Canada, right? Or play nice anymore. They're matching Trump's energy as they should.
These ones here were about $12 a bottle. How do you go wrong?
Tony Mariani was one of the first to arrive at the Liquor Mart on Ness Avenue to take advantage of the last chance sale. He heard about discounts on U.S. liquor and wanted to scoop up a few of his favorite wines.
I got a case of Pinot Grigio that was on sale. I think it's $5, $6 off, and it was like $6.72 a bottle.
Faye Lambert didn't want to miss out on the deals either. She grabbed 10 bottles of U.S. wine.
Pinot Grigios that are on for like $6 something, and yeah, they're pretty good. And then there's some, it's kind of all over the map. There's some that are like all the way up to like $20.
The province removed U.S. booze from shelves in early 2025 as part of retaliatory moves against American tariffs on Canadian goods. Last December, it temporarily lifted the ban and made nearly $7 million in sales it gave to charities. It's doing the same thing again, offering a 30% discount on leftover liquor inventory as some products approach expiration.
Might as well buy up all the U.S. wines because our premier has done some great things by giving the money to charities.
The Manitoba government says proceeds from U.S. liquor sales will go towards local charities like food hampers and child nutrition programs.
Professor of Agricultural Policy from the University of Tennessee, Andrew Mohammed says the U.S. liquor industry is feeling the impact of losing the Canadian market.
Not just about sort of the hundreds of millions of dollars that have been lost this 1 year relative to the broader size of the sector. It's about sort of the long-term implications of this.
The province says its position on selling U.S. liquor has not changed, but rather than letting the remaining inventory expire, it's using the profits to support Manitobans.
Great, perfect. Then my money's going somewhere good.
Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries says the sale items are wines and liqueurs that would expire by the fall. The province hasn't decided which charities will benefit from the liquor sale.
Pretty crazy. When businesses are literally taking a big financial hit just to make a point, that tells you how fed up some people are actually with this whole situation. And again, rightfully so. They have every reason to be.
And I was struck then, as I am again today, by the warmth of Canadians. I could not be more honored to be joining you in this historic hall, this Cathedral of Freedom. And we Americans can never say it enough. We could not ask for a better friend or ally than Canada. We could not.
This is what actual leadership sounds like, looks like, acts like. The entire, every single checkbox checked. Respectful, specific, acknowledging what your allies being there and what they bring to the table instead of threatening to absorb them like some kind of land-hungry empire. Ridiculous.
What Prime Minister Mark Carney said recently while speaking to a panel of policy experts in Toronto, indicating that Canada is open to deepening economic integration with the United States. Mark Carney ran on a platform that openly acknowledged our need to reduce our reliance on U.S. markets, to diversify our trading partnerships. Now, to be fair, Mark Carney has made an effort to diversify our trading partnerships across the globe. That's good, but deepening our integration with the U.S. market is not. Do I need to remind you that this is the same country that not that long ago was openly talking about annexing us, making us the 51st state? Do you need to be reminded of the fact that it is already our extreme amount of integration with the U.S. market that allowed Donald Trump to wage economic warfare against us in the first place, and leverage that economic warfare to get us to drop things that were not good for him? Retaliatory tariffs, the digital services tax, etc., etc. So no, this is not a country that we should be deepening trade ties with, and that's definitely not what Canadians voted for.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a point. Trying to deepen integration with someone actively punching you in the face isn't diplomacy. It's just hoping the bully just essentially gets tired before you do, and that's just not right.
So Carney just made a major announcement, and there is a huge shift happening in Canada right now. Skilled trades are about to surge, and he's dumping a ton of money into this. This means for us is that we do not have a labor issue, we have a misalignment problem. Massive demand building in construction, electricians, HVAC, infrastructure, and energy, and there's not enough people to fill those roles. It's going to happen. Funding's going to increase, training expands, and funding explodes. But this is what most people get wrong. They're like, what does it have to do with it? The announcement isn't just about trades. It's about the economy shifting towards more hands-on roles, operational roles, infrastructure, essential. Now the question becomes, are your skills aligned where the demand is going? Or are you in an area that's saturated and demand's going to decrease? You don't want to be there. In Canada, you can see us for free because we're under your benefits, under mental health. But you need to shift into careers that are in demand. Link in bio for a free consultation with career consultant.
Yeah, Canada's investing in the future while we're over here threatening tariffs and starting trade wars. I mean, at some point, you just have to wonder who's actually thinking long term and who's just reacting for headlines.
I think it's fair to say, probably the most pro-American prime minister in Canadian history. And I tell people that if a year ago the government had asked me, President Trump's coming in, he's talking about, big challenges on trade, USMCA, tariffs, what would you advise? I would have said a year ago, this is a real opportunity for Canada to really deepen its economic and security partnership with the United States. However, when this government did actually ask me a few weeks ago my advice was the opposite. My advice was, yes, on the economy, we've got to kind of get something short-term worked out with the Trump administration, but this really is a wake-up call for this country to truly diversify its trade export markets. Just because we have that geographic proximity does not justify the degree of dependence that we have on a single market, which is sometimes disadvantageous. And the other thing, in terms of security, my advice to the government is let's make sure we spend a lot more on defense so that we can be independently responsible for our own land, seas, and skies, independent of the United States.
Yep, he's exactly right. This whole mess is forcing Canada to realize they've been way too dependent on a neighbor who will turn on them the second it's politically convenient for whoever's in charge. That said, though, if you guys haven't already, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, notifications on, comment down below. Again, as always, a lot of you comment. I appreciate all of you so much. The community is such a blessing, by the way, but comment down below. What did you think about all this? What did you think about this when the news broke, whenever you mentioned you wanted to make Canada the 51st state? What did you think? What was your reaction to that, right? Was it curiosity? Was it...
Well, I am an American on a tourist visa here in Canada, Calgary, Alberta to be exact. And I see a nurse practitioner here because I am going through perimenopause and all that stuff. And so she ordered a transvaginal ultrasound. Now, I get these ultrasounds several times a year back in the States. I know what they cost with insurance. Usually runs me over $1,000 for my, what I owe after the insurance pays. I called today to schedule, and not only were they able to get me in tomorrow, but it is only going to cost me like $139. $139 out of pocket. When I called up, they're like, "You sure you don't have Alberta health care? You don't have Alberta's health care?" I was like, "No, unfortunately I don't, And she's like, okay, right within seconds, she was able to give me the how much I'm gonna have to pay out of pocket. She said, hey, credit card, debit, however you wanna pay. Such a relief. Quick scheduling, friendly people on the phone, people that sound like they love their jobs or just value doing what they do and not having to pay an arm and a leg. Amazing.
Ridiculous. I mean, what do you say to that? It's horrible, right? We're the richest country on earth, America, and we treat basic medical care like a luxury good. Meanwhile, she crosses the border and gets the same procedure for what we'd call a copay over here if we're lucky. That is ridiculous. Guys, if you haven't already, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. This one's gonna make you mad. Let's get into it.
Do you know how much it costs to have a baby in America? Depending on your insurance, $6,000, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000, sometimes $15,000. No insurance can be $30,000, $50,000 if you have a C-section. Do you know how much it is in Canada? Free! You walk in the hospital, have the baby, and you walk out of the hospital, and you just get in your car, and you go home. Cheaper than a cup of coffee.
That's pretty crazy. $15,000 to have a baby in the States. And that won't stop talking about family values, right? The country specifically, family values, but they've turned one of the most natural things in the world into a financial catastrophe. And in other places, you don't even get that. Sometimes in other places, they pay you for the pregnancy. Isn't that crazy? Just instead of you having to pay for the procedure, other people will pay you in other countries. Love that.
U.S. versus Canada healthcare. Which one would you choose?
Canadian healthcare.
Is there a reason?
Yeah, it's free. It's funny because my American friends don't get it. They hear the horror stories.
Yeah.
And there are some bad things about. Look, if I had unlimited money, maybe the American one's pretty good. But then that kind of defeats the purpose.
That's right.
I love being able to walk in with a card. It doesn't matter if I have a sniffle or a gunshot wound.
Right.
One card. Will you fix me? And they're like, yes, come in.
Sure. You might wait.
You might wait.
You might wait.
You know what? I've been in emergency rooms in LA. They weren't fast.
Oh.
I wasn't sitting there going, wow, this is the fastest.
And then, you get 3 bills in the mail.
Oh my gosh.
And it's terrifying.
Oh, the best is when they send you the bill and it's not for you. It's just what the insurance company owes. It kind of looks like it's for you. You're like,
what? This is for me?
And they're like, no, we just want to let you know.
And God forbid you go to the wrong out-of-network, whatever the hell that is.
I don't even get that. What is a network?
Canada, 1-0.
It's ridiculous. I mean, the fact that this is even a question shows you how far we've fallen, right? Nobody's moving to America for our healthcare. It's definitely not a priority for people coming over here, but plenty are leaving because of it. Nobody's coming over because of it, but a lot are leaving because of it. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, even the people who've been told Canada's system is broken or bad would still choose it over ours. And, maybe the problem isn't their healthcare, right? Maybe it's that we've been lied to about what's actually possible over here. It's ridiculous. I mean, there's some other things I want to talk about in a second, but let's move to the next clip and then I'll cover those. It's ridiculous. Some of the clips, if you guys haven't seen prior videos in the past, it's insane.
I've worked in U.S. healthcare for over a decade, and I've been in Canada for 2.5 months. I work in healthcare here, but personally, I've accessed healthcare services. My partner at Dartmouth General Hospital. I went to Halifax Sexual Health Center, and this morning the Woodlawn Blood Draw Clinic. Really great experiences across the board. So I'm not really sure why people shit on the Canadian healthcare system, unless I've just had 3 fluke experiences. But the discrepancy between the humans working in U.S. healthcare versus Nova Scotian healthcare, it's big. It's a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 14 years in the system and 3 visits is all it took to see what we're actually defending here. It's not the best healthcare in the world. It's just the most profitable, right? It's disgusting. And what I wanted to chat about is we've seen clips before of people getting bills, for example, giving birth, and then having some complications and whatnot, and seeing bills that are in the millions when it all adds up. It's ridiculous. You don't even hear about that kind of thing outside of the US. It's just mainly prevalent in the US. It's absolutely insane to me, though.
Okay, don't mind me, I'm fresh off of work, but I wanted to give y'all this firsthand experience from the U.S. healthcare and Canadian healthcare. It's vastly different, and it's taken me some time to understand it completely. Say you live in the United States and you're low income. You're not paying anything. You're on government assistance, and you go to the doctor. U.S. government is paying for everything. You're not paying for anything as far as even examinations, maybe surgeries, just, things that you actually need from the doctor. You won't be paying anything. So that's one part of it, right? Okay, so say that same person gets a job, good paying job, $70,000 a year, not quite 100, but you got $70,000 a year, you got expenses and things like that. Your job might have insurance that pays 60% of everything you go to the doctor for. And you're paying for that out of your check, $240 per month, right? So you're paying that per month. You go to the doctor, visiting them. You get your balls checked, you get blood work, and you get something else. I don't know. But each service that the doctor gives you, you are paying for. The insurance might pay for 60% of that. You're paying the 40%. And this is from experience where I got 3 things done and I'm paying $230 here, $150 here, another $240 there. And it's like I don't know about a lot of other people, but you got bills and you're paying per month for insurance, and that money is just coming out of your pocket regardless, My dental was a lot better. I had everything covered. But this, like the medical, it definitely got expensive as you need to go to the doctor and things like that. So it's quite wild. Being in Canada is so refreshing. Me getting here, I did wait 3 months before I got my health card. But you get your health card and you can go to any clinic. And, you just get things done, blood work, checkups, just like, any other doctor visit anywhere else. And from what I gather, I don't know everything about this system, but from what I gather, I see some Canadians, complaining about taxes and, the taxes paying for the healthcare here. And man, it's definitely refreshing going to the doctor and not paying anything. I actually paid for blood work once, but I'm about to have to go again, so I might have to pay again. I'm not sure, but they're like privately owned, blood services places. But going to the doctor and getting checked up on it just doesn't cost me anything, and it's so refreshing because I went to specialists and everything, and it's been pleasant not coming out of your pocket. And I'm always in the back of my mind thinking, am I coming out of pocket for anything? And it is hard to find a family doctor, like a primary doctor, like this is my doctor. But I was fortunate enough to find one, fairly quickly, but it's probably not a perfect system, but so far it's super refreshing because you just go, have your health card, and you're good. You're not paying anything out of pocket. It's wild, and I haven't been to emergency yet, but I can imagine an emergency, they're not asking you for insurance. They probably ask for your health card. But in the hospitals and the states, they're asking, do you have insurance? If you don't, I don't know what happens then. They won't keep you as long probably if you need to stay. But, your insurance is definitely paying. And if it's only paying 60%, you're eating the rest of that 40%. And that really does suck, But like I said, I don't know everything about this system here, but I'm just speaking from what I've experienced. I haven't been to an emergency room, so it's not really too crazy with the wait times that I experienced. But yeah, that's my piece about it. That's the contrast I've dealt with there. But that's it. Hope this wasn't too long.
It's crazy. I mean, that word refreshing, right, is doing a lot of work here. It shouldn't feel like a revelation that seeing a doctor doesn't bankrupt you. Doesn't cost an arm and a leg, but that's unfortunately where we are here in good old America. It's horrible, and even some of you watching have been in this position many times, probably at least 50% to 30% of you watching minimum. I mean, it's crazy because this is what every other developed country figured out decades ago too.
We didn't ask for this fight. We didn't ask for this fight. But Canadians are always ready when someone else drops the gloves. So the Americans, they should make no mistake, in trade as in hockey, Canada will win.
There you go. This is what happens when you pick a fight assuming the other side won't actually punch back. But now they've dug in and you're stuck.
I think it's pretty ridiculous and a slap in the face to our allies. You guys have our back, you stimulate our economy.
It might cost us more in the long run, down here. And he has a lot of different things he's doing and may come back to bite him. All of us, you never know.
We got to do what we got to do. I mean, we've been taken advantage of for too long, and I believe in Trump.
I don't know. He's saying it's to reduce drugs and things across the border, but I don't buy that really. So
most Americans, especially us here on the channel, right? You watching, me presenting, can see exactly what this is, right? Pointless self-sabotage that just alienates the people who've had our backs for generations. What's the point? It's ridiculous.
President Trump has made remarks about Canada.
In the 51st state. What are your thoughts about that?
Drives me crazy. You know, I don't think Canadians are a big nationalist, rah-rah type country, but we're starting to see a big uptick in that now, and I kind of feel the same way. It's, you know.
I think we're very happy being Canadian. We love visiting the U.S., but I think we want to stay Canada. Yes.
Yeah. That was very disrespectful. He implied that he just wanted to buy Canada.
I think it's ridiculous. We're our own country. It's that. I don't even see how it would be possible to do it without NATO doing something about it.
I've got mixed opinions because I'm a film student and working in the States is difficult. If we were the 51st state, then I'd be able to work there no problem, but I think for a lot of Canadians, I think that's a bit of a silly idea.
President Trump has made some remarks about Canada becoming our 51st state. Have you heard that, or what do you think of that?
I have heard that. I can't say that I know a whole lot of people that want that or take it seriously for that matter, but then again, we've kind of learned over the last little while to sort of believe what he says. He says what he means and means what he says, apparently.
I mean, imagine being so delusional you think you can just casually threaten to annex an entire sovereign nation and not have it blow up in your face completely. Like, that's ridiculous.
Canada is beating Donald Trump in his own trade war, and they're starting to rub it in his face. Now, as you know, Donald Trump started a global trade war with these tariffs, and as a result, our farmers are hurting. They have lost an export market that may not be coming back. Meanwhile, Canada has stepped in and are taking that market share, and they're bragging about it. Take a listen.
We are exporting into what used to be American markets because your former allies are walking away and leaving your farmers who voted for you in what they're calling Farmageddon.
Yes. Now, that is former MP Charlie Angus, who is essentially bragging and rubbing it into Donald Trump's face like, you started this war, a war you had no plan to win, and we're benefiting. We're taking your market share. And he's absolutely right. Our farmers are in a desperate situation. They're pleading for help. And while Donald Trump said he will get them a bailout, by the time they get the bailout for some, it'll be too late, if it even helps at all. Donald Trump got into this trade war with no victory plan, and our former friends, are rubbing it in our face.
Horrible. They started a trade war they didn't need to fight. It's so ridiculous. And now Canada's actively poaching American businesses while making sure Trump knows exactly what's happening. And that's not winning.
It's clear that the ban on American booze is working. So if Trump wants to negotiate an end to the trade deal that he started, we're happy to get a fair deal for Canadians. But until then, the U.S. booze stays off the shelves. By the way, happy birthday to Premier EB from British Columbia. We're united as Team Canada. Thank you for your attention to this message.
I mean, when your only trade war backfire, I mean, when it backfires so bad that the other side is literally just smiling while they twist the knife and offer terms, you've definitely lost the plot and probably the war.
So this is the reason why Canada is winning the travel trade war with the United States. Now, the Trump administration had suggested 2025 would be a banner year for tourism. Now, for the first 6 months of 2025, year-over-year international visitor spending climbed over 2.2%. As for many of you know, Canada is still in a trade war with the United States. The U.S. has imposed tariffs on certain Canadian goods like aluminum, steel, and continues to threaten the Canadian economy. But there has been a deepening decline in Canada's visitors to the country, which started when Trump took office in late January. Now, he launched his trade war and eventually began to take its toll. Now, overall, between February and October, the number of return trips by Canadians to the USA have declined by 21% for air traveling and by 33% for the land traveling, according to Statistics Canada data. Now, this is a graph of Canadian trips on ground to the United States by vehicle. And as you see, the years of 2024 and 2025 have changed rapidly. Now, the U.S. Travel Association, a nonprofit industry organization, they said in 2025, it's forecast a 3.2% decline in international tourism. That is compared to 2024 in the U.S., a loss of $5.7 billion for the United States. Now, out of all the tourists in the United States, Canada is a totaling of 28% of it, and that is 72 million visitors in 2024 that were Canadian. But who do you guys really think this is hurting the most, Canada or the United States?
We've talked about tourism before in the past, and I'll just touch on it. If you didn't know, now you're about to. The projected loss of tourism in America this year alone is going to be around $40 to $50 billion. That's a lot. That's an absolute massive amount. But I mean, you know what? It just turns out when you insult and betray and try to dismantle your neighbors, they just stop spending money in your economy, of course. And tourism, you know, tourism dollars, they don't care about how tough you sounded on TV. They're either there or they're gone. And in this case, they're very much.
I will take up arms and go to war and fight to the death if that's what it comes to.
What's sad is our children could end up doing that if this continues to escalate.
If they think Canada is just going to roll over and become a vassal state and just live in poverty forever, while these pieces of shit down south get to pretend that they're somehow deserving of a higher quality of life, f*** you.
I mean, seriously, when regular people are talking about taking up arms against what used to be their closest ally, maybe it's time to admit the damage is genuinely real, because it is.
So the Canadian Prime Minister came to the White House to meet with Trump, and one of the reporters in the room asked about Trump's claims to make Canada the 51st state. And the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, basically said, "Fuck no, you orange demon. Canada's not for sale, ever."
I do feel it's much better for Canada, but we're not going to be discussing that unless somebody wants to discuss it. I think that there are tremendous benefits to the Canadian citizens, tremendously lower taxes, free military, which honestly we give you essentially anyway because we're protecting Canada if you ever had a problem. But I think it would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build.
I mean, hey, the fact that a foreign leader had to walk into the White House and explicitly say my country's not for sale tells you everything about how unhinged this has gotten. And that definitely, you could feel the energy in that room right there. His response, everything. I mean, oh my God, I cannot imagine. That's just cringe, man. Ugh.
In the middle of the night last night, U.S. President Donald Trump shared a series of AI-generated images to his social media account, including this one that depicts not only the territory that is the United States with the American flag over it, but also Canada, Greenland, and Venezuela. And as a Canadian, I just want to say this. I do not have a desire to ever be American. Ever. Not today, not tomorrow, not next week, not in a fucking year from now, literally never. I would rather be deep fried. And I know for certain that a lot of Canadians share that sentiment. Yeah, not everybody wants to be American.
Absolutely respect, and she has that right to that opinion. This is what happens when you treat your longest ally like a punchline, which they are definitely not. They stop seeing any upside to the relationship at all. A lot of people who were once wanting to become American, to come over here, to visit, to, again, it goes all the way back into tourism, the $50 billion, $40 billion lost projected this year. Everything it's just all dominoes being knocked over. It's ridiculous.
A new poll finds that over half of Canadians say they no longer feel welcome in the U.S. That's right, only 34% of Canadians said that they trust Americans. 53% said that America as a country could not be trusted, and 75% said that American rules governing trade are unfair to Canada. And despite all this, the poll also shows that the majority of Canadians believe that they have more in common with Americans than any other people in the world.
Yep, very true. I mean, we spent decades, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years building that trust with our closest neighbor up north. And it took Trump one term, months, half a year to completely shred it. That's not something that you just patch up later. It's going to take a long time for that to even kind of start scabbing over.
The South lost the first time. You will lose again. It's not surprising to me that you all forget that the Confederacy lost because you all forget what the Civil War was actually about. The audacity and the arrogance that the freaking Confederacy has, because that's what MAGA is, the Confederacy. It's just astonishing to me. Like, sit down, Kodak. Like, you haven't been a thing in years. South will rise again. I'm not even concerned y'all can find your way up here. Y'all don't know how pronouns work. I'm not really concerned that you know how maps work. Laura, it's different now. The president and the military are on our side, are they? Due to this presidency, the military is fractured. There is not a unison agreement. They're not going to just blanket yes sir the way you think they are. Oh yeah, you got the Confederacy, bone spur magoo, a fractured military against the North, the pieces of the military that come to our side, and Canada. I have a hard time understanding why you all think Canada is a bunch of pushovers. These are people that wrangle moose. They were born on a tundra with a hockey stick in their hand, they guzzle maple syrup, and then they go lumberjack. These are not easy targets. it's not just Canada. The entire globe is giving y'all the stink eye. If y'all keep going down this road, the world will react. They already have started. And the blue states will absolutely be helping. And yes, that does mean something because guess which states have all the money? Just put your freaking Southern pride down for a moment and honestly take a look at the losing streak y'all have been on for years. You all statistically have the worst health, the worst education, and the highest mortality rate. This is why you all need to start investing in your public schools to learn that the math is not in your favor. A fun time touching the hot stove.
Yeah, she's right. MAGA definitely does act like Canada would just simply roll over, let it happen. But they're confusing bluster with strength, guys, and it's the same delusion. That same exact delusion that got us into this mess now.
Trying to show our support for Canada.
These stickers are sending a strong message.
Point Roberts supports Canada, and we're going to show it.
Brian Calder is a dual citizen of Canada and the United States. He lives in the border community of Point Roberts, Washington.
Like 50% of us are dual here, and 70% of the property is owned by Canadians here in Point Roberts.
He came up with an idea to display his true feelings amid rising tensions from President Donald Trump's tariffs on Canada.
People are angry and apprehensive and fearful, all those negative emotions. We're not at war with each other. Why is anyone trying to declare an emotional war with our best friends? That's just absolutely dumb.
Both the local cafe and marketplace are selling the stickers.
They sold very quickly. There's a lot of excitement with it, a lot of encouragement to keep them coming, and people are buying stacks of them now to hand them out to their friends in Canada. So we want to stick together. We are a very unique community, and we support Canada the way Canada has supported us, and we want that friendship and that unity to continue.
The golf course is gearing up to open in April. Canadians from BC are their main customers.
So we've been technically closed since March 16th of 2020 when COVID hit and closed our border. We rely on approximately 90% Canadians from the lower mainland to come across and golf here and help our community out.
They are hoping British Columbians book back and come across the border.
We're hoping that once we open, we get the traffic that we had in 2019. We were very busy then. We're your neighbors, we're your friends. We're dual citizens. Most of the people in Point Roberts are Canadian as well as Americans.
Since the tariff talks, people are buying local and holding back from visiting the U.S. For this community, that could mean trouble.
And I get it. If you threaten someone's sovereignty, I get them. They're ticked off and they're going to retaliate. And we're caught in the middle of that.
Point Roberts' water and power comes from BC.
Our roofing, our walls and carpets and appliances, we buy in lower mainland BC. So it's a cross-border economic benefit, both us buying there and them buying here.
He's asking for Point Roberts to be excluded from any tariffs.
There's no winners on either side. And it's an emotional break in our trust and our friendship and being allies for 200 years.
And now, decades of support is hanging in the air. Elena Kelly, Glacier Media, Point Roberts.
It's so sad, right? People who live right on the border, who benefit from both countries, are siding with Canada against us. That should just be a wake-up call about how badly we've lost the plot, you know? When people in your own border towns are hanging Canadian flags and saying they'll side with them over us, you know, maybe that just really tells you how badly Trump has just wrecked Americastania. This is what happens when you treat allies like enemies and enemies like friends.
It has started. Countries are canceling contracts with American companies. If you did not know, we actually rely on other countries to buy services and products from us. Trillions of dollars a year are going to be taken out of the U.S. economy. Let's start with what Canada is doing right now.
Is off the shelves. Also, starting today, all U.S.-based companies will be banned from taking part in government procurement. Every year, the province and its agencies spend about $30 billion on procurement, alongside our more than $200 billion planned to build infrastructure. U.S.-based businesses will now lose out on tens of billions of dollars in revenues. They only have President Trump to blame. I'm also urging all 444 municipalities to do the same. And I'm thrilled to see some are already stepping up. For example, Mayor Patrick Brown in the city of Brampton and many other cities.
General Motors selling to Canada, Ford, Costco, Starlink, all those contracts are
$500
canceled,
billion.
this will lose the U.S. economy billions and billions of dollars, which means companies will have to lay off, they will close down, they will not be hiring, and they will not be spending. That's what happens when you are a bully and you pick on people and countries because you are a horrible person. Racism will be extremely expensive for the USA. Get ready. This is going to be something we have never seen in our lifetime. More countries likely to follow. Hi, my name is Christina. If you found this post informative, you want more economic news, please like, comment, follow, and share for more.
Shout out to Christina. We featured her many times on the channel since our conception many months ago. Shout out. But I mean, on the topic, you know, three-timers, they thought Canada would just take it quietly, right? You know, but this is what happens when you pick a fight with a country that actually has leverage, right? They have leadership. Consequences end up showing up fast in these kind of circumstances, right? You know, they stop playing, countries specifically stop playing nice and start hitting back where it actually stings. $500 billion, 426 billion. That's no joke.
Canada is one of our, if not our oldest, one of our oldest allies. The Canadian people are a beautiful population of human beings. It's how certain populations have certain stereotypes, and some of them aren't good. What's a bad stereotype that you can think about Canadians? That they're too friendly, that they apologize when no apology is necessary? Canadians are good and decent. They're led by good and decent people. They elect good and decent people. They are a strong ally of ours, and we have attacked their economy. And it's not just some abstract concept that people talk about. We have attacked their economy. Mom and pop businesses are hurting in Canada. And when certain premiers, or what we would think as a governor, like the conservative Doug Ford in Ontario, when they decide to retaliate as a measure of protecting their own interests, Peter Navarro says they are dishonest and they're attacking us and they're hurting us. All they're doing is answering the behavior of Donald Trump. But if you fight back, apparently that makes you an enemy of the United States. When they were attacked first, economically, or now, economically, Donald Trump holds meetings in the Oval Office with giant maps that have an American flag covering Canada as though it's a part of the United States. He's constantly banging on and on and on about how they do nothing for us and they wouldn't exist without us, as though they don't have other allyships and partnerships across the globe with the European Union and Great Britain and a host of other nations. You got the sycophant bootlicking little monster, this goblin of a human being, Peter Navarro. This kicked off with him asking about the prerequisites and what started this and what the rationale for the tariff war that we have started against Canada, not the other way around. Peter Navarro's answer is very telling.
Thing that John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, said about the tariffs on screen. He said, I'm not a huge fan of tariffs. And then he said, I'm just finding out about that, talking about Canada. I'm curious to know a little more about the rationale for it, but as I'm not a huge fan of tariffs. Tell me the rationale first, and then let's talk about Thune.
The big rationale for tariffs globally is that the world screws us, and they do it under the rules of the World Trade Organization, of which we are a member of. The rules say that they can charge us higher tariffs than we charge them. It's screwy.
The rationale was that the world, and more specifically, Canada, screwed us. There's no evidence of this. None whatsoever. They always point to the milk tariff that Canada...
It's ridiculous. We've had... Canada's back through everything, and the second they don't roll over for Trump's tariffs, you know, MAGA senators start calling them liars. That's not how you treat your allies. That's how you bully people. Yeah, it's how bullies act when someone finally says no, right? It's ridiculous because Canada, again, for those who don't know, maybe you're new to the channel, I have, you know, many family members from Canada myself, so that's another thing why it hits home a little bit to me. So, you know, but you know, they're one of the most genuinely decent populations on earth, and we're treating them like enemies because Trump needed a new country to bully for that week, and it's just carried, right? It's indefensible. Guys, if you haven't already, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, notifications, and if you weren't aware, by the way, we actually added a new tier to our membership, so we're going to start posting extra videos for members only, as low as $5. If you're interested, check down below in the join button.
There is no way that Canada can win a trade war with the United States. What President Trump has said is that he wants to level the playing field. For decades, Canadian leadership has forced American farmers and American manufacturers to play by an unfair set of rules. All President Trump has said is that we're done playing by an unfair set of rules. If you're going to do something to our industries, then we're going to do something back to your industries.
The arrogance is wild, guys. Threatening a trade war with your biggest trading partner and genuinely believing they'll just roll over because you said so. Absolutely mental. Guys, if you haven't already, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it.
There's a bridge that Canada is building between, there's one there now, but they're building a better one, between, I assume it's over the Detroit River.
Detroit and Ontario.
Yeah, of course. Okay, this is Trump this week. As everyone knows, the country of Canada, also known as Canada, has treated the United States very unfairly for decades. How? Canada is building a massive bridge between Ontario and Michigan. Prime Minister Carney, well, that's an improvement. He's called him Governor Carney before, wants to make a deal with China, which will eat Canada alive. We'll just get the leftovers. I don't think so. The first thing China will do is terminate all ice hockey. What the fuck is he? I can usually suss out something in this. I don't know where. Why will China take over, destroy hockey?
First of all,
General?
Ridiculous. I mean, it's wild how Trump managed to turn our most stable, friendly neighbor into a country that has to actively consider what American values even mean anymore. And this was a more lightheartedly kind of comedic clip, but it really is serious.
Shame on America. This 4th of July, our 250th anniversary, and we are now the most hated nation in the world. I just got back from Europe. I met with different people from Turkey, from Greece, from Italy, and everyone says the same thing from all over the world. What happened to America? You guys used to be the shining city on the hill. You were the central hub of the modern world. You have been for 70 years, and then you elect this criminal, this obvious tyrant that wants to be a king, and he treats his allies and his friends that have fought wars together like dirt. America first. I mean, it's disgusting. This is a man who lies, cheats, and steals. He's done it his entire life, and yet there's tens of millions of people. These are people from other countries saying this to me. This is what they said. They said, there's tens of millions of you guys that voted for him and still think he's okay. He's a convicted felon. He's been accused of raping multiple women. He's in the Epstein files thousands of times. What they kept telling me every time we'd go out to lunch or dinner was, when are you people gonna wake up? It's time. You've been had. You've destroyed America's reputation around the world. And then people kept asking me, are you now proud to be an American? I'm like, no, I'm ashamed to be an American. And for those of you that are about to hit me in the comments and say, well, then go somewhere else. You know what? I can go anywhere in the world I want to go. I'm staying here. You're not hijacking my country. This is not who America is. Yes, America has its own obsession with things like success, and frankly, people like me bought into it, okay? I'm much older and a little wiser now, and I understand that, there's a whole big world of people out there who are starving, literally starving. And then Trump cancels funding for USAID. Supposedly, almost 600,000 people have died because we cut off funding, because we don't care about anything except ourselves. All we care about is money. Trump is $2 billion richer than he was before. Tell me exactly what I'm supposed to be proud of, America, this 4th of July. No, I'm not raising the flag, but don't tell me to go to another country. We're going to fix it. Come November, Trump will become a lame duck president. I hope he goes to prison. He'll probably get out of it. He's been slithering out like a snake his whole life, okay? We are going to get rid of all these GOP sycophants, and we're going to turn him into a lame duck and take back our country. And then next year, maybe it'll be a great 4th of July. This one, I'm not celebrating anything. It's disgusting.
Totally understandable. We spent 250 years building a reputation as a beacon of democracy, and Trump, MAGA, torched it in less than one term because cruelty and chaos play well with his base. Wants is the better term in this case, and every time he does, it just honestly shows how little he understands about diplomacy or, honestly, basic respect.
When Mr. Trump started talking about Canada being a 51st state, your government's original response was to say that it was a joke. Now you're saying that this is a real thing. Can you take us into your mindset? What was the moment that made you switch from thinking it's a joke to a real thing?
I don't think there's a switch. I think, as I've said unequivocally from the beginning, there's not a snowball's chance in hell that Canada will ever be the 51st state. At the same time, from having worked with President Trump for over 8 years now, I can tell you that we have to take seriously what he says and make sure we're responding appropriately. And quite frankly, the response of Canadians over these past weeks has been inspiring. as people have been there for each other, people have been changing their vacation plans, people have been looking at ways to buy Canadian, to support local businesses, to diversify their supply chains to places like Europe and Asia. This is a response of Canadians who are saying, yeah, this is going to be tough, but we're going to double down on Canadian pride and standing up for each other.
Good for them. You know, Trudeau's, he's not mincing words, because at a certain point, you really do just have to draw a genuine hard line, especially when someone keeps treating your country like a punchline. Like a punchline.
Why does Trump hate Canada? Because Canada takes care of America. Remember when Canada saved 6 Americans during the Iran hostage crisis in 1979? They have stepped in time and time again, quietly with that classic Canadian calm, and they're doing it again. But this time, they're saving American students. Trump is cutting funding for universities, revoking student visas, deporting students for protesting, trying to control who teaches and who can attend. So Canadian schools are stepping up. University of British Columbia reopened admissions just for Americans. Toronto and Waterloo are seeing spikes in U.S. applications and campus visits. Because when your own country takes away your education, Canada builds a classroom. This is global leadership. Canada to the rescue. Again.
Yeah. Canada is literally stepping in to help American students because Trump slashed education funding, got rid of it. Yeah, they're being better to our people than our own government is right now. Insane to even say that out loud.
Donald Trump is absolutely hell-bent on annexing Canada. He talks about it at least once a week. He has said that he might use economic force to make Canada become the 51st state of the United States. He wants it so bad he can taste it. And that, of course, is just one of the very many reasons that he has given us to putting more tariffs on Canada. You know, today's supposed to be Liberation Day, which is really just Screw Consumers Day. But according to a new poll out of Canada, Donald Trump may want to reconsider annexing Canada because, as it appears right now, about 20% of Americans polled actually would rather they become Canadian than see Canada become part of the United States. Let me read you this. Only 9% of Canadians believe it is likely that Canada will become the 51st U.S. state. By contrast, 20% of Americans would like their state to join Canada and become a Canadian province, a proportion that is higher among people aged 18 to 34. So Donald Trump is like, by God, we're going to get Canada. And you got 20% of Americans like, cool, so we're going to be Canadian now? We get access to health care? You know, we have bodily autonomy. We don't have to live under these red states' oppressive laws. Hell yeah, let's get Canada and become a part of it. And Trump's like, no. They're going to fall under our oppression now. And Americans and Canadians are like, yeah, no, we don't want that. We want the freedoms that they have there for us. We want the privileges they have there, like, you know, universal health care. We want that.
Genuinely. I mean, once a week, he's talking about annexing Canada, and that's not policy or strategy. That is just genuine obsession. And it's making America look unhinged to the rest of the world.
Ambassador specifically said that Canadians were mean and nasty for not buying American alcohol and for boycotting the U.S. in terms of travel. And at the same time, like, do they think that Canadians are not going to respond when the president says, I want to turn you into the 51st state and beggar you economically unless you bow to the U.S.? Like, obviously, Canadians are outraged. I say Canadians stick with it, like, hold the line.
They slap tariffs. They slapped tariffs on Canada. Canadians responded by not buying their stuff. Super simple. And somehow Canadians are the mean ones. That's the logic of someone who thought they could bully their neighbor without consequences. Guys, if you haven't already, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, hype up the video too if you see that down below. Appreciate it so much. Let's get into it.
Please shut down the system. Hold on to your butts.
It's funny. It's funny. But I mean, this was what drives me crazy about Trump's whole tough guy routine with Canada. Genuinely, I mean, besides the memes a little bit, is they could just flip a switch and large parts of the U.S. go dark. But, you know, somehow we're the ones acting like, you know, we hold all the cards. We don't.
Canada and the Canadian people, your boycott on tourism in the United States explained right now. Canada and the Canadian people, let's do some hard numbers. Last year, 2024, you brought in $20 billion in money to the United States with your tourism, okay, and purchasings of stuff around the tourist industry. That's a lot. Whether you're talking about going into different national parks, you're talking about going to Disney World, anything. $20 billion last year, okay? What does that look like in the practicality? That was 140,000 jobs that were created to support you guys coming into the continental United States. What does that look like as far as we had 20 million Canadians coming into the United States? Now, I've been posting about Canada and the outcome of the boycott, and I've had hundreds of people commenting about how they're traveling to other countries to spite the boycott and make sure they didn't spend their money in the United States.
It's ridiculous. $20 billion and 140,000 jobs at risk because Trump just couldn't resist picking a fight with Canada. And there's so many, excuse me, negatives that have come with this throughout all these months, the past year plus. And it sucks because that's real people too, by the way, just losing real work that he could just look tough to his base for, you know, some news cycle and Truth Social posts.
To all the countries around the world that supply America with their goods, you know, from their clothing to their food, to their vehicles, to their electronics, how about we boycott America for a few weeks? Stop sending stuff over there. You know, they have no production over there in America, so let's just see if we can teach them a lesson.
You know, it is almost funny how quickly the tough guy talk would technically, and I feel like genuinely would, disappear if every country we do depend on definitely just stops selling to us for 2 weeks, 3, 4, 5 weeks, right? And Trump's whole strategy assumes nobody will ever call the bluff. And if they did, yeah, sure, they would have negatives too, but that'd be a big telling sign.
You know, it's hysterical, the MAGA response to Canadians boycotting American products and canceling their trips to the United States. Well, we're not going to buy Canadian products. Honey, that's going to be hard because you can't even identify Canada on a map, let alone Canadian-made products. So good luck with that.
Funny. Genuinely, though. It's very true. Very, very true.
If you are Canadian and you've been slipping with your boycotting of purchasing American goods and services, or if you've been traveling down to the United States for vacations, I want you to watch a video because hopefully it'll light a fire back up under your... And you remember why we were doing this in the first place. Because we need to get back to that and push even harder. Because this is not cool. Watch this.
But Canada has taken advantage of the United States of America for far too long. And they've taken advantage of the United States in a couple of different ways. Number one, they have allowed us to subsidize their entire military, their entire security.
Not a penny, ever. The United States does not subsidize Canada at all, let alone our military. Show us one penny. Show us a ledger line where the United States cut Canada a check to subsidize our military spending. It's pathetic that the only one that seems to be dumber than Donald Trump on these topics is the Vice President, J.D. Vance.
Canada pays virtually nothing, at least until a couple of years ago, for their own security, which means we had to foot the bill for that security.
And let's be brutally honest here for a second, okay? The only country that Canada needs protecting from, the only country that is a military threat to Canada, is America.
Is that fair to you and your kids that you have to pay for the military of a foreign country?
You know what's not fair to you and your kids? You know what's not fair? That you have a president and a vice president that gets on television and lies straight to your face.
But why don't you have a little bit more self-sufficiency? And I think that makes complete and total sense.
You know, you make a really good point, J.D. Vance. So we really hope that America will understand when Canada starts to develop our own resources, refining our own resources. Yeah, bringing finished products to market. Yeah, so that ride with American corporations making tens of billions of dollars every single year off the back of cheap Canadian commodities comes to a halt. Yeah, when we start selling them elsewhere as refined, finished products.
The second thing the president said is, if we're going to be true friends...
Yeah, just shut the up with that shit. You know what? I am so sick and tired of American politicians, especially at the highest level, talking shit about our fucking country, undermining our sovereignty at every fucking turn, and then standing up and having the nerve to say crap like this. You know what? If you are Canadian and you are slacking on your boycotting of American goods and services, get back on the horse. Yeah, get back on the horse. Because that is bull.
Yeah, pretty crazy. I mean, your closest ally, when your closest ally is telling their people to just essentially remember every insult and every slight before they spend another dollar here, that's That's really not a minor trade spat anymore. That's genuinely a broken relationship that'll take years, decades to repair. And it truly is sad. Very, very much sad. I have many connections over in Canada, and it really is truly sad.
Why would anybody outside the U.S. visit the U.S. right now? The risks so outweigh any reason to go to the States, in my opinion. There's a woman that I worked with briefly in my 20s who was one of the first Canadians to end up in ICE detention. She was in there for fucking 2 weeks, getting like shuffled around the country. That scared the hell out of a lot of people in Canada. And with roving gangs of Gestapo like wandering around major cities, why would anybody go? The chances of getting scooped up, they're low. Yeah, they are. But a non-zero chance of ending up in ICE detention, which it's not like ending up in a county jail. These are concentration camps. They're a concentration of undesirables. That is a concentration camp. And people are dying in there. Canadians have died. Other people have died. So what could be worth it about the United States to risk getting scooped up? I have thought about it. There was a few months ago where I was going to go visit some friends in Florida, and man, did I really go over it in my head. I would have to bring a burner phone. I would have to have a lawyer's name and number written on my arm, an immigration lawyer. And the only thing that was making me think like, okay, yeah, this could be okay, is because I live in Toronto and US Customs is on this side. And so I could withdraw if I wanted to. But being down there, I'd be so stressed out, just constantly like looking over my shoulder. You know, luckily I'm very white. I'm like a stuck pig. I'm so white. So anybody, not just people of color, but like white people, like the woman I know, she's white. She's a tall, white, beautiful woman who got scooped up. It could happen to any of us. So why would anybody risk it? Risk our freedoms to go visit a country that is in total disarray right now. The tourism losses that the United States are suffering right now, they are very well deserved. They're not giving us any reason to go down there. There are so many commercials for individual states that I'm seeing during hockey games and during baseball games up here. Like, visit Texas, visit Maine, visit Kentucky, drink our alcohol. Fuck you. Absolutely not. My question is, why would anyone go? And is anybody going? And if so, how's it going? What's it like down there? Because it doesn't look good.
Rough. I mean, and he's definitely right to ask why anyone would risk it when your friends can end up detained by ICE for 2 weeks or more or less. The point is getting detained, just visiting. I mean, at some point, the risk isn't worth whatever you're coming here for at all. World Cup, vacation, honeymoon, work visits. And that's a reputation they'll stick for years. You know, it sucks.
Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. They should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
The man who told us we'd be winning so much we'd get tired of it now needs our neighbor to be more grateful somehow. Somehow I just don't think this is the winning he promised. Guys, if you haven't already, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, hype up the video. Let's get into it.
I have to admit it, Donald Trump has accomplished something he set out to do. He promised to make a country great again, and he's done it. But unfortunately, it's not America, it's Canada. What he's done in his first month and a half in office has made Canada more unified together than it ever has been before. Across the country, they've all come together. They're waving the flags, they've boycotted American vacations and goods, and they're buying only Canadian items. They are completely unified against what Donald Trump has been doing to them in a way that, quite frankly, they probably wouldn't have even known possible before Trump took office. So Donald Trump can make a country great again. He can make a couple countries great again. But unfortunately, one of them isn't the United States, as we're absolutely crumbling by his own design. So Donald Trump, he's made Canada great again, and he's also working hard to help Vladimir Putin make Russia great again. So Donald Trump, you failed here, but you're making some places across the world great again. And that's what it is. Throw me a follow.
You know what's interesting is that nothing brings people together quite like a common threat, and watching an entire country rally against your policies is not the diplomatic win MAGA thinks it is.
Going to be defending Canada. Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. But they should be grateful to us. Canada Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that.
Yeah, it's again, right? Our closest ally and trading partner lives because of us is ridiculous. You know, this is what happens when you let someone who thinks everything is a real estate deal handle foreign policy.
Frankly, we don't really understand what the dispute with Canada is about because we've been a very good and friendly partner to the United States ever since the early 1800s, before we even formed as a confederation. What I would say to Americans, though, is you shouldn't have to worry about all of these countries if you're working collaboratively with Canada and you're trading freely with a separate country to the north. Then you will not be bound by what happens in these other less stable and arguably more hostile countries.
That's fair. You know, we've had their back through every single conflict and crisis for generations, vice versa them to us, and they respond by, you know, threatening to annex Canada, which is ridiculous, right? You know, that's not how you treat an actual ally.
I will never travel to the States again.
I'm considering it very carefully. My family is there. I'd like to see my parents. I'd like to see my siblings, you know, but I have to think about the safety of my children.
I would desperately love to go visit some friends and attend events coming up, but I just don't see that it's safe because we can't guarantee our safety at the borders.
I am a U.S. citizen. I'm from California, and I frequently visit my parents and bring my children. And it's definitely a concern. When I crossed the border a month ago for a soccer tournament, I cleared my phone.
I would love to go to Buffalo and go shopping. That's not happening right now, though. Yeah, no, definitely not going to America right now.
Wow. Yeah, again, when your trade war costs American cities their tourism revenue, which, by the way, if you guys haven't been into on the channel, which if you haven't, please subscribe. We've talked about it tons of time. Tourism, everything. I believe it was 9 to 13 billion lost in tourism last year in 2025, and it's projected in this year to be 41 billion. 41 billion. That's insane. It's ridiculous because it turns your closest neighbor into protesters. Canada, you know, it's interesting because maybe it's time to admit the strategy isn't working, but that's not going to happen, right?
Hello from Buffalo, New York, on the shores of Lake Erie, directly across from Ontario's Niagara region. This is a city best known for its chicken wings and football, but for people from southern Ontario, this has long been a shopping and day trip destination, not so much since Donald Trump's trade war. So the local tourism board here is reviving its campaign known as Buffalo Loves Canada to tell Canadians to come back.
In February, when tariff talk started, we pulled back on all of our advertising because we were getting some negative sentiment, obviously. And we thought this was an opportunity with Canada Day just to dip our toe a little bit into the market again and see what the sentiment is.
According to U.S. border officials, the number of travelers crossing from Ontario to this area of western New York has dropped 24% year over year. And officials here say border crossings never even fully recovered since the pandemic. So tourism operators like Buffalo Harbor Cruises are offering a 30% discount for Canadians to lure them back. Just show your Canadian ID. You're our neighbor. You're right across the river. We share the border. We share the waterways. Every day we travel through a Canadian waterway. And we don't take that for granted. The Toronto Blue Jays AAA baseball affiliate, the Buffalo Bisons, are also offering a 30% discount for Canadian tourists all summer. The message from local businesses that depend on tourists is they don't agree that Canada should be annexed by the United States, as their president has claimed. Instead, they just want people on both sides of the border to go back to getting along.
Crazy. American border towns are now begging Canadians to come back because Trump's ego trip is costing them real money. Like I said, projected 41 billion with a B, billion dollars this year alone. And we're, I think, probably going to surpass that at this rate. You know, these are the consequences nobody wanted to talk about, and we are here talking about them.
So let me tell you, it's going to be the first time I'm not going to Florida, but I talked to so many people. Don't let this guy, Trump, determine and ruin your life and everything. That's my personal choice. Maybe some families have gone to Florida their whole life. Go to Florida. You know, that's great. But I encourage you to stay here and support local tourism. But you can't let the one tyrant change our lives, right? You just can't let it happen. I'm doing it out of my own personal choice because I just can't do it. But don't let this guy change your lives. And I always say, we love our American friends, and the Americans love Canadians. And there's just one guy. I just don't see eye to eye with this, President Trump. So we'll keep fighting. And I'll never apologize to that guy ever, ever.
Pretty crazy. Even conservative premiers are quietly canceling their Florida trips while telling others to essentially do what they want. That's how you signal disapproval without starting a bigger fight. Right there.
We have some big news right now. Canada is now warning its travelers that if its residents are coming into the United States, it should expect more border scrutiny, potentially searches of their phones. If you're Canadian, listen up. From Bloomberg, Bloomberg is reporting that Canada is urging its residents to essentially take more precautions right now as they enter the United States. This comes after a French researcher was literally turned away at the border and was deported back to France because he had anti-Trump rhetoric in a group chat that he was in. If you're Canadian and you're trying to come into the United States right now, you could be denied entry if you are anti-Trump and if you are vocally anti-Trump. So in a significant shift, Canada is actively warning its residents that they could be searched, they could have their devices searched, that they could have their phones searched. I mean, this has never really been done in the past to the level that the Canadian government is now warning its citizens, so it's pretty significant. I'll do a full breakdown on my Substack, Instagram, and YouTube. They're all linked to my bio, so be sure to check those out and follow along to stay up to date on all the news you need to know about.
Absolutely insane. Canada's literally warning their citizens that visiting us might mean having their phones searched at the border, and even more. We've become the country people just need travel advisories for. That's insane when you think about it. America. Oh my goodness.
Well, it's obviously working. It's an irritant. But there's one thing President Trump can do: get rid of Canadian tariffs. All it does is it's a tax on the American people. It's an attack on the American economy. Get rid of it, and we're good to go. The good news is our wineries, and especially in Niagara, they've seen a jump of close to 70% because people are tasting great Ontario-made wine, and they're enjoying it. So you're not backing off of that? No, and I encourage people not to back off on it.
I mean, they're keeping American alcohol off the shelves, and we've seen that on the channel, many clips. And of course, Trump's mad about it on social medias, of course, right? This is what retaliation looks like when you pick fights with your largest trading partner. This right here. What do you get from it? Nothing. You just infuriate the people in your own country. The American people having to pay these dang tariffs, man. It's so annoying.
We can't control the trade policy of the United States. We recognize that that policy has fundamentally changed from the policy in the 1980s, 1990s, 2000s. And it's a situation where the United States has tariffs against every one of their trading partners to different degrees. And it's in that context that our officials, my colleagues, have been working with their American colleagues on detailed, constructive negotiations, discussions on specific transactions, specific sectors, steel, aluminum, and energy. And a lot of progress has been made. And we stand ready to pick up on that progress and build on that progress when the Americans are ready to have those discussions, because it will be for the benefit of workers in the United States, workers in Canada, and families in both of our countries.
Crazy. Ontario ran ads warning Americans about tariff damage, and Trump's response was to cancel all negotiations. Are we really surprised? No, because that obviously came with other outrageous things on social media and stuff too. But I mean, it's crazy. Turning a legitimate concern into a tantrum just proves their point. It's ridiculous.
Canada's nasty. They are. They're nasty. People think Canada, they're nasty. People, I love the people, but they're nasty.
Ridiculous. You know, they're our closest ally. They share the longest peaceful border on Earth with us, and he calls them nasty. Calls you nasty. You know, the Canadians watching right now. This is what happens when you let someone with zero diplomatic skills run foreign policy, guys. Ridiculous, as always. But here we are again to stay informed and to stay entertained. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, notification, share the video. Let's get into it.
Canada and the United States have built a remarkable partnership in the economy, in security, and in rich cultural exchange. But Canada doesn't live because of the United States. Canada thrives because we are Canadian.
Yeah, and he's exactly right. Absolutely 100% right. Canada's success really truly does have nothing to do with us bailing them out in any sort of capacity. They built a functioning society while we are still unfortunately arguing about whether people deserve health care. Insane.
So you may remember a couple of days ago, Donald Trump doing a speech where he talked about Canada being nasty. We're nasty people. He says, I love the people, but nasty leadership. Very, very difficult to deal with, apparently. So Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, was asked about these comments today. And he answered in a way which I think all of us can get behind. And I thought to myself, well, that's actually a really smart way of doing it. It was non-aggressive, but at the same time, aggressive. He basically said this, and I'm paraphrasing. He basically said this: Canada will continue to do what's in Canada's best interest to protect Canadians, to create jobs, and to keep jobs. And that's what we're going to continue to do. So yeah, we're nasty.
Dang right. There you go, right? They insulted an entire nation and somehow expected Canada to just roll over and take it. It turns out calling people nasty and then demanding compliance isn't actually a negotiation strategy at all.
I have a message for Donald Trump. Our country's not for sale. Not now, not ever. I lived across this country, and I can tell you, Canadians are a proud people. We're proud of our country, and we're ready to fight like hell to defend it. Right now, with the forest fires ravaging homes, Canadian firefighters showed up. That's who we are. We show up and support our neighbors. But if you think you can pick a fight with us, there'll be a price to pay. I've committed that if Donald Trump imposes tariffs on us, we should respond with retaliatory tariffs in kind. I think that anyone running as prime minister should do the same.
Yeah, and makes sense. This is what actual patriotism looks like, right? Standing up for your country when a bully tries to push you around, not whatever performative flag-waving MAGA calls patriotism.
So Canada just clapped back against Donald Trump's tariffs and has announced that they will be placing a 25% surcharge on electricity that flows from Ontario to the states in response to Donald Trump's tariffs. Here's what Ontario's Premier, Doug Ford, just announced at a press conference. Quote, "Believe me when I say I do not want to do this. I feel terrible for the American people who did not start this trade war. It's one person who is responsible. It's President Trump." And then he announced that they will be charging 25% more for electricity, which will impact, quote, 1.5 million Americans effective today.
Goodness.
So there you have it. Donald Trump, who promised to lower prices on the campaign trail repeatedly, is now directly responsible for 1.5 million Americans having to pay 25% more for the same electricity that was cheaper under Joe Biden. Welcome to Trump's America. Higher prices.
Insane. So Trump starts a trade war, and now Americans in states that rely on Canadian electricity are about to pay upwards of 25% more to keep the lights on. Winning, apparently, looks a lot like losing. Guys, I don't think this is winning.
I'm about to play you a clip from Canada's CBC News podcast, and it's alarming. While everyone was watching the Super Bowl, I was listening to this, and I'm so concerned because the world is rallying against us, the U.S. Just listen to it, and I'll give some thoughts at the end.
Justin Trudeau is trying to strengthen trade and security relations with other allies. Now, the promise of a trade war is forcing Canada to shore up alliances overseas. The Prime Minister is in the EU this week, where countries are also living under the looming shadow of threatened tariffs from the U.S.
You know, they might want to talk about how they might coordinate with each other in extreme situations.
Along with Greenland, Gaza, and the Panama Canal, Trump is threatening the sovereignty of Canada.
What I'd like to see Canada become our 51st state.
Warning of using economic pressure to achieve his goal, even though he agreed to a reprieve for now.
American news is not grasping the gravity of the situation. People in this country don't seem to realize that we rely on other countries. We work with everyone. We all have mutually beneficial relationships. And us, the US, have broken the trust. And what happens when the entire world, the main players, turn against us, when they don't want to work with us anymore? People think of war as boots on the ground fighting, but this is 2025. We're going to have economical warfare. I don't know if America realizes
Very
this,
true.
but we cannot do this alone. We are a world economy. Have you ever looked at the other countries that have tried to nationalize everything? Venezuela is not a perfect example, but it is an example of how this fails. All these other countries are going to start making agreements with each other and leaving us out. This is the downfall of America. All of you people that think this is what making America great looks like are delusional. Trump and his billionaires will
What
be
we've been
fine.
saying.
They have enough money to get them through hundreds of lifetimes. Us normal people will suffer. His supporters will suffer. We will never be able to rebuild these relationships that he has single-handedly destroyed. Wake the fuck up.
You know, and this is the real cost that nobody talks about that often, at least that I see. Maybe you guys too. We're pushing our allies straight into the arms of Europe and China because they just can't trust us anymore, and more, of course. That's not America first. That's America alone. And I don't like that. Not sure about you, and I'm pretty sure most of you watching agree with that. Let me know in the comments.
Hi, Donald. A Canadian woman here. I see what you did to Jasmine Mooney. You detained her, you humiliated her, and you terrorized her. I, along with millions of other Canadian women, will not stand for it. You think you know Canada. You throw out names like Gordie Howe and Wayne Gretzky. Sure, they're great hockey players, but so too are Hayley Wickenheiser and Marie-Philip Poulain. And while we're at it, Canada's a soccer nation too. Christine Sinclair isn't just Canada's best soccer player, she's the best in the world. Arts and entertainment, we have Margaret Atwood, Celine Dion, and Sandra Oh. Now, somebody you may not have heard of is Viola Desmond. Viola kicked off her shoes and the first civil rights movement in all of North America. She was Rosa Parks before there was a Rosa Parks. And I want to remind you of Nicola Goddard. She was the first woman in the Canadian forces to die in combat. And Donald, she died fighting in Afghanistan, supporting American troops against the very terrorists who attacked your soil on 9/11. We are accomplished and kind. But Donald, we also make big decisions. Did you know that Canadian women account for 75% of all consumer spending in Canada? Canadian women have a $1.2 trillion influence on our economy. We choose the vacations, we pick the brands, and we invest in the future. But here's the thing, Donald. We don't invest in bullies. And Donald, don't forget, we've been here before. Laura Secord, a woman with no title, no army, no backing, walked 30 kilometers through enemy lines to warn British forces of an American attack. Donald, a Canadian woman defeated you in the War of 1812, and Canadian women are her legacy. So, before you come for Canadian women again, remember this, Donald. We forgive, but we do not forget.
I mean, they genuinely don't understand that other countries do have pride, they do have identity, and zero interest in becoming us here. And that's perfectly fine. There's no issue with that. That is them and themselves. The assumption that everyone secretly wants to be American is so deeply arrogant, and it's borderline delusional.
Let the Epstein class fight the Epstein war. Earlier today, I wrote a letter to the Prime Minister telling him to take action to stop the war in Iran. It is causing a lot of suffering overseas. It is causing a lot of economic pain to working people here in Canada. And not a single Canadian should ever be put in harm's way to try and defend Donald Trump's foolish Iranian war. And I'll go a step further, and I'll say no American either. No American child from the blue collar or the middle class should have to die in Iran. Let the Epstein class fight the Epstein war.
Dang. He's absolutely right. No Canadian should have to risk their life because Trump decided to start another reckless war without thinking through a single consequence. That's not their mess to clean up.
Canada is going to become the 51st state.
It will never become the 51st state, and guess what? I will bear arms.
Canada does not want to be a part of the United States.
Not one bit.
I don't think the U.S. knows what they're taking on, because they're seeing, sure, a lot of fresh water, a lot of land out there, but I urge any American, have you ever been to fucking Duluth, Minnesota? Do you really want 38 million more people from fucking Duluth?
America tried doing this shit in the fucking 1800s, and we were like, fuck you.
It ain't gonna happen. There's just too many fundamental differences between Canada and the U.S. If you go to high school in Canada, the term dodging a bullet just means she ain't pregnant.
Or you just barely passed.
Dodging a bullet in the U.S. high school system means that probably the guy standing behind you is dead.
That's insane. I mean, this is what Trump doesn't get, though. You just can't bully a sovereign nation into submission or even suppression and expect them to just shrug it off and accept it. You know, people will definitely defend their country in most circumstances any way possible, and they do mean it.
Jesse Waters tells Canadian politician that he feels personally offended by Canada's refusal to become part of the United States, asserting everyone in the world wants American citizenship. Why the fuck would Canada want to be a part of the United States? What is so enticing? Canada has universal health care. We are okay watching CEOs of healthcare conglomerates die because they kill people for sport. Canada has such a low margin of pew-pew deaths that we would be grateful to have anything close to what they're having. Canada has a 15-week paid maternity leave.
Which is amazing, by the way.
Maybe. Canada has a better lifespan expectancy than the United States citizens. And lastly, they have like a better education system overall than we do. Plus, they don't have Donald Trump, so I mean, they're doing way better than we are. This is your political mom. Educational purposes only. Viewers' discretion advised.
They have universal health care, better public infrastructure, you know, longer life expectancy, right? And they're looking at us like we're the ones who need help. Maybe because we actually do something different.
So it looks like the governments in Canada might be allowing American liquor back on the shelves, potentially. Now, obviously, this has to do with ongoing trade negotiations. Now, this is just my take on this, but I don't think they're going to be able to sell it anyways. And the reason for that is because take a look at the alcohol sales stats in Alberta right now. The government of Alberta didn't remove American liquor off of the shelves. However, people just aren't buying it here. Like, American liquor sales in Alberta are way down, even though it's still available to buy. I live in Alberta, and myself and other people that I know have been boycotting American-made goods as much as possible, just like everyone else has. I don't know about you, but you know, we've been doing this now for the last year and a half or so, and I've made an effort to try to not buy American-made goods whenever I can, because I will never forgive or forget Donald Trump threatening to annex Canada. I will never, ever forgive or forget that. I've gone out of my way to replace what I buy, but you know, it's been a year and a half now of this, and so when I go out shopping, a lot of my changes in my buying habits now are their habit now. And I don't miss a lot of my American-made stuff that I used to buy because I've replaced it. Like, I just don't buy it,
and millions of others are in this position.
I think if the governments want to lift their American liquor ban, you know, I don't live in a province that has an American liquor ban, so take this as you will. Maybe you think differently than me if you do live in a province that has one, but even if the government lifts the ban, you don't have to buy it anyways. I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, the ban might be tactical, but the boycott is definitely, at least at this point, personal now. You can't insult an entire country, threatening them in multiple different ways, and then expect them to just forget about it when it's convenient for you. And this is the same thing that we've seen, the same psychology when it comes to MAGA voters, right? You know, and that's another thing we've spoken on the channel about real quick, is that, you know, all these MAGA voters that are regretting and they're coming out, oh, please forgive. Maybe down the line, some forgiveness could be made, but it's going to take a while. Same thing in this instance, right? You know, they're choosing to walk away, and no trade deal is going to fix that. And that's it for today's video, guys. If you made it this far, thank you very much. And remember to leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below, honestly, what your thoughts are on this entire just massive debacle with Canada versus America. It's mental. Guys, stay safe.